A lovely Friday morning here in Baltimore. It is Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn Clark. Griffin, of course, is with us. MC Ernest is here, and it's Friday. So our chief grand poobah, Stan the Fan Charles, has joined us in the studio once again. Great to see you, sir. Ooh, we do need Stan's microphone. We will need that.
Good to see you. Good to see you and the guys.
Yeah.
They keep me young.
It's a much more pleasant day to be doing this than if things had continued going the way they were in the first half last night, in which case this would have been a very unpleasant show to do on a Friday. But, boy, the Ravens looked so good in the second half last night. Stan, I'm in a place, and I tried talking about this last night on the Fan, which is I think it's easy to undersell and to say, hey, look, the Buccaneers stink. They're a mess, and Tom Brady doesn't look right, and all of those things. I still think this was a really good win for the Ravens last night. Winning a road game on a Thursday night anywhere in the NFL is very difficult to do. You and I talked about that when we made our picks this week. We're inclined to give the nod to home teams on Thursday night. Winning a game in which you lost your two top offensive targets in the first half, in which you looked like a complete mess in the first half of the game. I think that was an outstanding win for the Ravens last night.
The second half was vintage Ravens over the last 3-4 years. Really interesting. Reading Bo Smolka's article, he makes an excellent point about why they threw the ball so much in the first half because the Buccaneers secondaries depleted. Richard Sherman almost sort of said after the game, and I know Griffin and I were talking about it, didn't he? He basically hit home the point. It was almost as if the Ravens just said, let's experiment with a bunch of stuff in the first half because we can beat this team. And in the second half, they said, let's go back to what we do. And
which is a weird thing to do in an NFL game.
Yeah,
because
I can hear Richard Sherman, and certainly he would have knowledge of if teams trying to do that. But boy, if that was really what you were thinking, I think you deserve to lose in those situations. Like if you're just out there messing around and you end up falling behind by 3 scores in the first half because you just feel like messing around and seeing what. But my God, look, whatever the reasoning was, Stan, I've said a billion times, and I know that Bo.
What was the score at the half? They weren't down.
No, they weren't. That's what I'm saying. But if you end up because you're messing around, because you're just trying things, and let's see if we're so confident, we have so much hubris about what we're capable of doing, that all of a sudden you end up screwing up big time and you fall behind by a bunch. I mean, the Buccaneers certainly had a chance to punch in another touchdown when they went down and got the field goal on their second drive. Look, the idea, and I heard it from a lot of people, the Buccaneers secondary is depleted. This is the game for the Ravens to open things up. I don't know how to say this. There are no games for the Ravens to open things up this season. That's not who they are. They didn't go out and get pass catchers this offseason. They didn't build an offense. Greg Roman is not that guy. He's not. We know that. And you can be mad that Greg Roman's still the offense coordinator, and plenty of you are, but he is. That's not the plays that he calls. He does one thing, does it extraordinarily well. I don't know why you would ever change who you are based on what the injury situation is for another team. For what it's worth, a week ago, as I kept pointing out to everybody, the Buccaneers also allowed both Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, who, in fairness, I know are two of the greatest running backs in NFL history. Literally, you think about Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, Jim Brown, Walter Payton.
Chuba Hubbard.
Exactly right. It's just the way that you think about it.
Much better than Lenny Moore.
Oh, by far. By far. Thurman Thomas, who's that?
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman allowed both of those guys to rush for over 7 yards a carry a week ago. The Ravens ran the ball incredibly well a week ago, so I'm not really sure why there would have ever been a thought to let's throw the ball 34 times in the first half.
Part of it might have been, seriously, if the Players Association weren't part of this compact between NFL management that has insisted upon these Thursday night games, and let's face it, they now are part of the furniture.
Yes.
They are some horrible football. Like in the first half,
they tend to be.
It's just watching those players try and exert a burst. It just isn't there 4 days after playing a game. And maybe that was sort of some of their thinking is, hey, we got Gus Edwards. He's coming back from an injury. Let's go easy. Let's see. Maybe we can run a couple scores up. But the thought process in the first half was so staggeringly bad. It just it was. The thing I really didn't. Again, we have a Harbaugh going for it on fourth down in the first half, and what I couldn't understand
without Mark Andrews on the field.
Right, but what I couldn't understand is they didn't go for the first down. What yard line were they on?
The 8, I want to say.
8 or 10.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it was from
no,
the 2
they
or
didn't
3.
need to score a touchdown
Right.
in order to convert. Correct.
I just didn't understand that at all. I was sort of blowing my. I was really ticked off that they weren't just taking the 3 points because it felt like this is going to be a very tight game to me.
Yeah, the argument is always, well, they needed a touchdown. I'm like, I'm not sure what you saw that made you think you needed a touchdown.
Right, so they
there.
were never out of the game.
Correct. It was a
like
one-score game at that point with 2 full quarters to play. And again, I would probably feel differently if you had Mark Andrews, or at least be more willing to consider it if you had Mark Andrews. It's the 2-minute warning in the first half. I didn't see anything that said that was something you needed to do in that moment. Now, again, thankfully, it didn't end up hurting.
Who did they throw the ball to?
I think was it DeMarcus Robinson?
Yeah, I believe it was
so.
DeMarcus Robinson.
He got a lot of targets.
I thought it was Andrews.
No, Andrews was off the field at that point. He got hurt
halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was off the field for the rest of the game. Look, all that being said, whatever it took for them to get into the locker room and say, okay, we tried that.
Right. We're going to try something different.
That was kind of nuts. Maybe we do anything else here in the second half. That's what it took. And a lot of times we criticize the Ravens over their adjustments. We've criticized them over how they played in the second half this season. They were nails in the second half last night.
That was probably, even including when they ran the score up against the Dolphins, I was more impressed last night with how they just gashed the Buccaneers, who were clearly, because of the amount of time they were on the field, their defense
they were
was
spent.
just spent.
They were spent, 100%.
By the way, who is the guy? I still don't have their team down on Amazon. Who's the big? He looks like he was a former offensive.
Andrew Whitworth.
Is that Andrew Whitworth? He mentioned that Ronnie Stanley left the game or something. Was he just not aware that they rotate him in? Because I don't watch every play to see that Ronnie Stanley's in. At the half, he goes, they also – I don't know if he used the word lost him, but
Ronnie Stanley.
They something like Stanley left the game. And then all of a sudden in the middle of the third quarter, there's Stanley leading the charge on that one big run.
Correct. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if Andrew Whitworth was unaware or if it was just he was trying to bring up one particular play or something along those lines.
That is a lousy broadcast, by the way.
It does very little. By the way, did you watch on Amazon or did you watch on Channel 2
I watched on Amazon.
You watched on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I watched on Channel 2 last night, and I happened to be your nephew called in yesterday.
Right.
And so then we spent the entire day texting back and forth, and he was having a couple of pops up in New York last night at a bar and was texting me, and it became very clear to me that they had the Amazon broadcast on, and it was about a play and a half ahead of what I was watching on Channel 2. So
it always makes for great texting.
Correct. So when he's texting me with 12 exclamation points, likely, I'm like,
Did they report on the WMAR broadcast? Did they report that the Lindbergh baby was found?
Yeah, that's great news. I was very excited to hear about it. It was really wonderful that it worked out that way. Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by that. And then at the end of the game, when we were trying to start post-game over on the Fan, I just kept saying to the boys in the other room, I'm like, hey, we got to wait for the onside kick. We just have to make sure the Ravens recover the onside kick.
Right.
But I'm watching... And, we're in a commercial break. They're like, do we need to extend the commercial break? I'm like, guys, I don't know. I'm 3 plays behind.
Right.
You're going to have to tell me when they recover the onside kick so we can start the postgame show last night. So that was a bit annoying in the ABC2 presentation. Appreciate them making it an option for everybody in town to be able to watch the game that can't figure out Amazon Prime.
Were they just airing the Amazon broadcast?
Yes, it was just the Amazon broadcast that was being sent over the air, but it was apparently being sent over the air
play behind,
that may be part of their deal is that it has
Yeah,
to be behind,
delayed or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. It was unfortunate. There was also a strange sound in the background of the broadcast that sounded like the game Simon. Remember the
No.
that you remember that game? You
no.
know that game? Micah knows that. How do you know that game? You're the youngest of everybody here. There was these, I swear, noises in the background of the broadcast, and it was almost became a Howard Hughes situation for me. I was almost ready to start peeing in bottles in the studio last night because I was being driven insane by the Simon sounds in the background of the broadcast from Tampa. All that being said, it's a great win.
Great win for the Ravens.
Really, really good win, and I would at least hope maybe gets people to settle down a little bit. This was an ugly week after the Ravens won last week against Cleveland. There was a lot of angst, vitriol, despite the fact the Ravens were 4-3, despite the fact they were in first place, despite the fact they had won their football game on Sunday. There was a lot of ugliness around town this week. I think a lot of that will be settled by just how good they looked in the second half yesterday. And clearly, if you're a Greg Roman hater, it's tough to sell your Greg Roman hate this morning after his second half.
What was especially impressive is this is without Andrews, without Bateman. Deshaun Jackson wasn't on the field for the game, wasn't suited up. This was Isaiah Likely's coming out party in the regular season.
Very much so.
And Duvernay really played just a
Duvernay
terrific,
continues.
Yeah.
Duvernay's not a star, but what he is very unique. I would compare him to a Dexter McCluster type, and I know that seems like you're underselling him because he didn't have that type of career.
Right.
I think Duvernay has the ability to have a better type of career, but the guy that can do so many different things within an offense, not necessarily the guy that's ever going to be 1,000-yard receiver
but he's also returning the punch, returning the kickoffs, and
making plays out of the backfield.
And it's really necessary to have that third guy, to Andrews and Bateman. It's necessary to have the third guy that you got to have some attention to defensively. And last night they sprung two guys, so suddenly in 2 weeks when they play, and hopefully Bateman is back because they don't play again until a week from Monday.
Yes, correct.
In New Orleans. Then they have the bye, and then they have Carolina. The schedule's really sort of
yes, it's very favorable
very
at the moment
favorable.
for them.
In fact, they mentioned during the broadcast they don't play another team with a winning record
until
now
Cincinnati.
until Cincinnati, the
Correct.
last game of the season. But the idea that in 2 weeks when they play again against New Orleans, that they could have Andrews, Bateman, Likely, Duvernay, DeMarcus Robinson also played a key role.
Hopefully Gus Edwards is good and is ready to play in that game. Yes, it all of it is very encouraging about the trajectory of this football team. And again, helps to ease your nerves after some up and down. I think it was a critical second half. Yeah. John checks in this morning. I thought in the game plan initially was to pass on the Bucs' depleted secondary. Props to them for making the change and dominate on the ground. You have to be able to at least attempt to throw the ball. You're not winning a Super Bowl and running. I have two thoughts to that, John. There's a big difference. A lot of people were saying this to me throughout the week. Again, I'm going to keep coming back to it's just not who you are. And there's a big difference between saying, hey, let's take some chances against a depleted secondary and calling 34 pass plays to 5 run plays in a half. If you're the best passing offense in football, those numbers are insane. That's insane. Again, 30 pass attempts, plus Lamar Jackson was sacked twice,
right.
plus he ran the ball twice in pass situations. 34 pass plays were called to 5 run plays. All of they wanted to take care. That's insane. That's malpractice. That's insanity for the numbers to be that much. Picking your spots and saying, hey, we might throw the ball a little bit more than we typically would, no problem. 34-5 is unjustifiable in any.
Yeah, I agree.
It's borderline criminal that was the way the first half played out. I couldn't believe that those were the numbers when we got to halftime. Now, again, I get it. They got the ball a couple times late, and they were throwing the ball, and it padded some of those numbers.
Right.
But 5 run plays called in a half? 5?
And it looked like Todd Bowles was using the playbook that the Chargers used in the playoffs and the Bills used. They were just on Jackson immediately on everything. And the way
it also helps. Vita Vea is such an unbelievably athletic defensive tackle. Like that helps them a great deal.
Yeah. But it showed that obviously when you're getting rushed like that, the one way you get rid of the rush is either screen passes or running the football, and they just started running
the ball combined with getting the ball quick out of Lamar Jackson's hands. It was a clinic in the second half. Yeah. It was a clinic of exactly what a Greg Roman offense is capable of being. 200 yards on the ground
in the second half.
In the second half, 200 yards on the ground in the second half. And I know Lamar had a couple of big runs in there himself, but RPO types of runs in the second half.
I made a fortune at Live Casino.
Because you had the over on rushing yards in the second half. Yeah. That was brilliant. Yeah. That was brilliant.
Yeah. I beat it by 150 yards.
Yeah, right. Did you parlay it with anything?
No.
All right. We'll still take the win.
I only parlay in baseball.
Really?
That's where I parlay.
I missed the only bet I had on last night's game. I had Gus Edwards as an anytime touchdown scorer. So curse Devin Duvernay for taking away the only rushing touchdown from Gus Edwards. If you are looking for the best place to watch and bet on every game, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland and the FanDuel Sportsbook is the place. And Stan, I don't know if you heard, but starting this week, they now have cash-out options for your parlay bets. So you go make a parlay bet at Live Casino and Hotel. First couple of legs hit, and you start to feel a little bit queasy maybe about one of the other legs on your parlay bet. You take that ticket up to the self-service kiosk there, you scan it, and they're going to let you know what you could cash that ticket out for, and then you have the choice as to whether or not you want to take that offer or let that parlay bet ride. That is now available in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Cash-out options on your parlay bets. Not same-game parlay bets you can't do it with, but traditional parlay bets, first couple of legs come together, or even, let's say you make an expensive parlay bet and you start to feel a little bit rough even about the first leg, they might still offer you some of your money back on the parlay bet, and you say, hey, let me cut my losses because I'm about to lose $500. Maybe I could only instead lose $200. I'll call that a win. Those options are now available in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland.
Is this where Kevin Hart would go? They let you do that?
They let you do that, yes, 100%. He's not with FanDuel, but
that's right. That's right.
We'll let it slide.
We'll
let it slide anyway. From Dave. Dave says, Glenn, are we confident that Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman are back for the New Orleans game? Is it possible it's better to just let them rest through the bye and have everyone back for the Carolina game?
Little early to be even
Stan.
projecting that.
I completely.
Let's see what the nature of the injuries are.
I couldn't. It's almost you took the words out of my mouth at that point, Dave. I get the question, and it's something that we'll probably think about and they'll think about. I've said this a million times before. We have this belief that like football players or athletes are a percentage, like they're Mortal Kombat characters. Like there's a bar that says this is how much life they have in them in a certain week, and we say things like, well, if they're not at least 80%, you just hold them out and you don't play. It's just not the way that it works. Football players, no matter their circumstances, are either healthy enough to play or they're not. Like that's the way we keep trying to think that there's some percentage number that we can plug a Charger in, like it was Russell Wilson, and figure out exactly where they are health-wise. And I never understood the way we talk about it. Either you're healthy enough to play a football game or you're not healthy enough to play a football game. And they'll make the decision based on that. The idea that they'll just assume that they can run anybody on the field and go beat the Saints in 10 days, stop. Yeah. Stop. We don't need those guys. Like, even if they can play, let's just sit them out.
And that game is on Monday.
Correct. It's Monday, a week from this Monday. Correct.
The World Series will be over by
then. Be over by then, absolutely. No matter what, even if it goes 7 games, Game 7 would be next Saturday.
So one other thing, the defense, and we can get into talking about Tom Brady finally. I mean, I've been saying it for about 6 years. that he was looking old to me. He finally really does look old.
Yes, he does. I don't disagree with that. I had a couple people chime in on the postgame show about that like, the defense played well, but what really helped was Tom Brady's decline.
It did help. There's no question about that. But what I was going to ask you, the defense looked a little better, and there could be more good news on the defense when they take the field. Do you want to explain to people what the situation with Bowser is?
So yeah, when they activate you from the PUP list, they create a 21-day window. You can practice for 21 days, but at the end of that window, either you have to be put on season-ending IR or you have to be activated to play. So they didn't have to start Tyus Bowser's clock when they did. They could have kept waiting for a little while to start Tyus Bowser's clock. You assume they started the clock when they did. If there was any risk that he wasn't going to be ready by the end of the 21 days, you presume they would have gone ahead and said, we're going to wait a little bit longer in order to get you out on the field, because whenever we can get you, that's more important than being put on IR. There is some possibility. So the clock's going to come up, and he's going to have to be activated either for the New Orleans game or put on IR.
Right.
Presumably.
And then he'd be out for the rest of the season.
Correct. If there was any risk that he was going to be out for the season, they wouldn't have started his clock. So unless there's been some setback that we're unaware of after he started practicing, this would be the game that he would be activated for. For what it's worth, and Stan and I were talking about this before the game, there is the possibility, this goes back to the looking at the schedule and looking at the bye.
Right.
There's some possibility they activate Tyus Bowser for the New Orleans game.
Doesn't play.
But he doesn't dress. But they just make him inactive for the game, and that's a scenario they could say, hey, we can buy ourselves.
Then they get another week of buying time.
Exactly.
Literally buying
Exactly
time.
Right. But I still don't know why you would have started the clock when you did, if you were worried that you didn't have to start the 21-day window then.
So they're highly confident that he will, or the scenario you said, that will make him inactive for one game.
Worst case scenario to me would be he doesn't play against New Orleans because it buys them 2 more weeks to get him ready for Carolina.
What about the number 2
Ajabo,
pick?
same clock.
Okay,
same
but
clock.
he's not active yet.
Not yet.
He hasn't been.
No, he was his clock started the same week as Tyus Bowser's. Remember, they both got on the practice field that week. So clock is the same for David Ajabo. Again, it's easy for us to say they'll be activated that week. Yeah, I think they both will. It's just a question of whether or not they actually play. There were guys on the field last night that I don't think the Ravens are fully. Devon Kennard. I know, Griffin, you also hit the parlay bet of both Devon Kennard and A.J. Klein having TFLs last night, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was all over that one.
But he's doubling down. He parlayed it again on Chuba Hubbard.
Oh, my. Well, he is one of the greatest running backs in football history, for what it's worth. So I don't know if I hate that bet. By the way,
have a good name though. Chuba Hubbard.
It's Chuba. It's Chuba Hubbard. But I do like Chubby Hubby better. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Old Chubby Hubby.
Yeah, the old Chubby Hubby. By the way, how insane is it that 6 days ago we were convinced they were definitely the worst team in all of football, and if they win this weekend, they're winning. Yeah, they're in first place. Division. They're in first place.
Who's that?
Carolina.
They're in first place?
Yes.
If they win.
If they beat Atlanta on Sunday, they're in first place in the NFC South by themselves.
They may have been a little hasty in benching
getting rid of Christian
Baker
McCaffrey
Mayfield
and
getting rid of Christian McCaffrey.
But maybe that was the answer.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's all they needed to do. That's all it took. They had to get the old Chubby Hubby. They had to get that guy on the field a bit more often in order for it to be where they are. We were joking about it at the station last night. The Buccaneers, for as bad as it looks right now, they're still the favorites to win the NFC South. They might be a 7-10 division winner, but they're still the favorites to win the division, because the division, what we thought the NFC East was going to be this year, is exactly what the NFC South has proven to be. All right, Stan, are you going to play Pats on the Ass with us this morning?
I can.
All right, when we come back in.
It seems like a fairly, it doesn't look like it's too high for my pay grade.
You think that until you start seeing the responses.
Right.
And everybody's struggling with the rules for Pats on the Ass.
You have to have at least 2 of one side of the ball.
Have to have 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players. MC Ernest, you want in for Pats on the Ass? You want to contribute a list of players?
Sure.
Think about it during the commercial break. We'll go around the room. 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players. The 5th can be whatever you would like. Another offensive player, another defensive player, a special teams player, or a coach can go on the list. You take those 5. Once you pick who your 5 are, Rank them from 5 to 1, ascending order. Number 1 is your man of the match.
I got one other question. Griffin, you were watching it on Amazon?
Amazon, yes. Yeah.
Did I miss something? They were promoting this Lil Baby video that was dropped at 9 o'clock, but it would be repeated at 12 o'clock.
It was 9 p.m. Pacific time, so it was midnight. It was midnight Eastern time.
Okay, but I said, let me hang in here a few more minutes on that.
I really love the fact that you were waiting for the Lil Baby,
and it never came.
No, yeah, I guess you had to switch off to another, like you were changing shows, so you had to back out. Yeah, so I never watched
on
it.
Amazon.
Yeah, so I never watched it.
I just wanted to listen.
If it had came on after the post game, I would have.
I just wanted to listen to Al Michaels.
Okay, I realize I'm 70 years old. That is really very piss poor the way they promote it.
Yes, they could definitely do a better job with that. But I still got to hear Al Michaels say 2 chains multiple times. Lil Baby. Which, I got to be honest with you, that was great.
But you hire one of the great announcers of all time. He is, I won't put him in the Tom Brady class that he's fading, but listening to him have to promote the Eagles-Texans game next Thursday.
100
it must have been,
times. 100. I get there's less for Amazon to promote than like NBC.
Right.
And I know that we always made fun of Al Michaels doing
They could have promoted how you find the Little Baby video at the end.
Lil Baby.
You have to actually get out of the game and go to another.
I also miss Al Michaels talking about La Brea for some reason. It was a part of the joy that I got. All right, Pat's on the Ask next, then Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, will join us. Still to come this morning, my old pal Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback. We're going to talk some Ravens with him, but also he's now a radio host. He does mornings in Houston on 790, so we're going to preview the World Series with him as well. I bet.
And can we preview the Eagles?
The Texans game. I don't know if you heard. It's on Thursday Night Football next week. I feel like nobody got that note. That will all be coming up this morning. Also this morning, Jalen Smith is going to join us. The pride of Mount St. Joe and the University of Maryland. The Pacers are in D.C. tonight to play the Wizards. So Jalen Smith's going to take a couple of minutes for us today as well. That's all coming up. Stan the Fan is here. It is Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
Back in here on GCR, Stan the Fan Charles is here, hanging out with us on a Friday edition of the program. Chief Grand Poobah here at PressBox. Today's show is also brought to you, or actually, you know what, Stan, why don't you remind everybody, you had two really good shows this week.
We did.
Mike
That we
Boddicker,
did.
right?
Mike
on
Boddicker
Monday?
on Monday night. We had a really good time, Ross Grimsley and I, with Mike Boddicker. And
Joe Battaglia.
And Joe Battaglia, the head coach, the son, the young son of the late Buzz Battaglia, who was a really popular figure
No question.
around these parts, especially known, aside from his auto parts business that he had at one time, which was called Metro Auto Parts.
Metro Auto Parts.
That's
Metro Auto Parts.
But then he went to the old man at Salvo
Coach Buzz
Auto-
here.
Yeah.
God, growing up as, I'm sorry, I don't mean to derail you,
That's
Stan.
all right.
But growing up as a kid, I always knew I wanted to get into this business, right?
And you
so
wanted to do spots for
but
Salvo Auto
I
Parts?
would listen obsessively,
Yeah.
and I
It's
would
Coach Buzz.
Coach Buzz here. Like, I was all over it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but they went to, I don't really remember his name. The old man Salvo, who was Buzz's chief competitor
Yeah.
with Metro Auto Parts. And when Metro went out, it really did. It went bankrupt. The old man Salvo found a place for Buzz to come in. Not only come in, but putting him in that situation where he's doing the ads speaks very highly of the Salvo folks who are still in business. But Buzz ran with it, for probably 12, 15 years.
No
ran
question.
with it.
No question.
Great
Beloved
guy. So
figure.
his son, Buzz, and I don't, it's so cliched to say somebody's dad who's passed away is looking down smiling, but I know Buzz would be so proud of Joe, what he's accomplished.
Griffin
so far.
is the voice of Concordia Prep football. I know. That's the.
Had I known that beforehand, I would have booked.
Yeah, Griffin.
Griffin.
Right. To do the show with you.
Yeah, it was nice of Gary to give me a name drop in there. Give me a shout out during the show.
That was cool.
He shouted out AC Sports and Griffin
nice.
Bass. Yeah.
So
and Miles Goodman as well.
Two great shows. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
You do the games with our friend Miles Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
So two great shows available right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, PressBox.com, or PressBoxOnline.com/video, or YouTube.com/PressBox.
Concordia homecoming tomorrow against Boys Latin.
Okay.
I'll be on the call, or you
There
can come
you
out to
go.
the game.
There you go.
Either works.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. All right, Stan, we are indoctrinating you. This is your first time participating with us for Pats on the Ass, and we'll let MC Ernest play along as well.
Probably be my only time. Although, no, wait a minute. I'm sitting in for you on a Monday.
Yeah, but they're playing on Monday night.
Oh,
yeah,
geez,
right?
whiz.
So, yeah,
Missed
really.
my- Can't
yeah,
we do that?
was-
Can't we do that like a
preemptive, like who
we
you
like
think?
do a predictive.
You know what? I'm
That's
not.
a-
I'm
and
not.
you could play it.
I'm not opposed to
and
it.
you could play
and
it
see
back
if
when-
you had any idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about, or we can make fun of you relentlessly and say, "Listen to these." Of course, if they lose, we do slaps to the helmet. We don't do pats on the ass if they lose, so that makes it awkward. We take 5 Ravens. 2 must be offensive. 2 must be defensive. The 5th can be whatever you'd like. Then you
It's like
rank
a
them.
flex position.
It's almost like that.
Could
Although
it be a cheerleader?
it could, we try to avoid front office. We try to say coach or player.
Coach or player.
Coach or player, but it makes it awkward. Like last week, both Justin Tucker and Jordan Stout were legitimate nominees, but we don't allow for a second special teams player to be on the list.
Gotcha.
So it does get a little awkward. We just like to have a little bit more thought involved. So don't cheat. Get me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, but we will begin with ours. And I'll start with my number 5. My number 5 is safety Geno Stone, who I think he's been playing. I know Griffin and I had a highly contentious pats on the ass earlier in the week on Monday that was quite controversial because of somebody he left off of his that was only the best player on the field for the game. But he put Geno Stone on his list, and Geno Stone has been playing really good football for the last couple of weeks. And last night, again, flying around very much in the middle of things. Geno Stone has had to step in, as Chuck Clark has had to step in for Marcus Williams. Geno Stone has sort of had to step in for Chuck Clark. In his role, Geno Stone's been really good. He's my number 5 for this week. You want to go next?
I'll go
Dan?
number 5. And again, I found out about this segment that you do
right
in the middle of the third quarter last night.
That's exactly when I told Griffin to message you, by the way.
This is a little earlier
I said
than that,
I said very clearly,
actually,
tell Stan
no, in fairness, he texted me earlier.
All right.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, you didn't see
But
it
I did
until,
not. But I don't
Okay.
look
All
at
right.
my text every 2 seconds. I saw Kyle Hamilton with a pulse last night.
Okay.
And he
He
just
did.
seemed
He
to
had
be
a pulse
around
last night.
the ball, and he was in a blitz one time. So Kyle Hamilton, give him a pat on the.
I like it. I like it. Pat on the ass. I
pat
like
on
it
the
for Kyle
ass,
Hamilton. MC Ernest, you want to go next? Who's your number 5? Yep, there we go.
Sorry. I actually had Geno Stone as well.
Well, look at that. The great minds. Wait a second. You're not just going to because you
No,
think I'm grading
I won't
you
do that
because
for
you think I'm
every-
giving you a review for your performance.
Wow,
you're just
Glenn,
gonna,
great decision.
Yeah. Right. No, I thought he was very good last night. All right, Griffin.
I'm going to go with another defensive guy that stepped up. I felt very big last night. Broderick Washington.
You know, it was the other guy I was considering for my 5th spot.
He stepped up. No Calais. He
Yep.
stepped up pretty big. Had a couple pass deflections. His T-Rex arms were giving Tom Brady hell.
There's no doubt.
So
I thought Broderick Washington.
It was fun to watch.
I thought he was really good. This is the thing about last night. Andrew Steck and I were joking about this on Twitter last night. Like some weeks, it's very difficult to think of 5 guys to make the list. This week, it was more difficult to trim the list to 5 guys. There were so many players that stepped up last night. My number 4 is going to be DeMarcus Robinson, who, again, speaking about trying to slide in, they needed a reliable target on the outside. DeMarcus Robinson proved to be a reliable target on the outside. This was his best game as a Raven by far. 6 catches for 64 yards, none bigger than the third down throw where he was bottled up for, I don't know, a 1-yard gain and put that lovely spin move on, got to the sideline on the outside, went and picked up the first down as the Ravens kept the touchdown drive alive. I thought that was one of the bigger plays of the game. I'm not trying to oversell DeMarcus Robinson. I still think the Ravens need far better than that at wide receiver. But in a bind, when they needed somebody to step up, and
he did play a good game.
He played really well last night, so he's my number 4.
All right, my number 4 is, and I actually did not know that you grade them 5-4. I just thought it was.
Oh, you're just picking 5.
So
Yeah, we're ranking them.
Justin Houston would be my number 4.
Definitely on my list, for sure. Definitely on my list.
Had a couple sacks, I believe,
and
made the night a little hard for Tom Brady.
We can read ahead. He's number 3 on my list. So, my God, he was when they needed somebody to start making game-winning plays, somebody to step up and do something to change momentum. Justin Houston absolutely was the guy late in the first half that was the first sort of Ravens player to kind of come awake. On a night where they looked lethargic, he was the first guy that really woke up and got this team going. I get it. It still took to the second half for them to build off of it. But I thought when they needed somebody to say, hey, this isn't going to turn into an ugly Thursday night football game. We're not going to let this become a game where we never showed up. It's Thursday night on the road. He was the first guy that stepped up and made really winning football plays last night. I thought that was big. Micah, you're number 4.
Yeah, I had Justin Houston at the 4 for the sole reason of making Tom Brady the most sacked quarterback of all time.
I wonder if
Good point.
I wonder if there's some small part of Ben Roethlisberger that's actually disappointed that he loses that record.
I thought the same thing when I saw it.
Like
he did it in a much shorter time.
That's true.
period.
He'll always have that. He'll always
like
have
10 years shorter.
Right, the on average most sacked quarterback of all time, or something like that going for him.
So I had Justin Houston as my 3 as well. I think he's been our most consistent pass rusher probably all season when he's on the field. I think he's constantly applying pressure. I feel like he was all over the place.
Great.
Yeah. And then my number 4, I had Lamar Jackson. I mean, second half he was just vintage Lamar. What we expect, and I mean he was pretty much unstoppable. So
I already
Lamar
told
Jackson
you.
4.
I already told you Justin Houston's my number 3. So we'll just sort of Lamar Jackson's my number 2. So I'm in agreement. I think that he looked. I remember the first 3 weeks of the season, Lamar played so well that we were trying to find ways to describe what he was doing and why it was different or better, and I kept using the word command. That in those first 3 weeks of the season, he just felt like he had such incredible command of the offense. And last night in the second half, that reminded me of that. He was in charge.
Yep.
He knew exactly what he wanted to do in every circumstance, got the ball out quickly, made good decisions. Everything in the second half was perfection from Lamar Jackson. He was my number 2. So give me your 3 and your 2, Stan.
My 3 is Duvernay.
Okay.
I thought he had a really
Did a little bit of
important
everything.
game and added a lot to the. And then I like Isaiah Likely as my number 2.
Okay. All right. Micah, 3 and 2?
Yeah, I had Lamar at my 3. Just for the first half, I didn't have him higher, but second half he looked great, and then, like you said, I had Duvernay at the 2 because he's just kind of like a jack of all trades player. He's great on returns, had rushing touchdown, receiving yards,
and the one long return probably would have been longer if it weren't for his own guys that were lying on the field in front of him that he had to hurdle over in order to try to get downfield. That probably could have been a 40 or 50-yard return. But, his own dudes were lying on the field in front of him, making life a little bit more difficult. So you already gave us your number 3, Griffin, right?
Yes, yeah. I think my top 3 probably could be interchangeable, but so I went Houston 3, and I went with Isaiah Likely as my number 2 as well. I mean, he was great.
So for
the
record, he's my number 1. Isaiah Likely, I guess just because of expectation versus performance, right? Like I think a lot of guys were good last night. You can make arguments for a lot of guys. But Isaiah Likely to me was the one who raised his game the most last night, that when they desperately needed someone to step up, he was the guy that made the biggest difference as to what our expectations are for him and his performance in the win. So Isaiah Likely's my man of the match from last night, and he's my number 1 on my list. Stan?
My number 1 is Lamar Jackson.
You got no problem with that.
I thought he played an exceptional second half, and you could say, well, what did he do? He was mostly handing the ball off. But that word you used, command, he really seemed like he was calm, cool, and collected, which is the thing you kind of worry about with him. Is because he's so helter-skelter.
He gets, some of the way he was firing balls in the first half with I get it, there weren't a lot of windows, but he was just throwing Randy Johnson fastballs in the first half, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like, what is this? To your point, in the second half.
Second half, he was fully in charge, and he was calm and confident, and I like that.
I also loved, I don't know if we talked about it, his fire on the Pat Ricard penalty. I'm utterly and completely good with that. I didn't think it was demonstrative. I don't think he was throwing Pat Ricard under the bus. I think he was vocally saying, they got 100 yards worth of penalties last night. Yeah. For everything they did well, 100 yards worth of penalties last night. I got no beef with Lamar Jackson trying to step up and say, I need to be this guy for this team. I need to be the guy that everybody takes their cues from. I need to be the guy that's setting the example, setting the tone. And in that moment, a play that worked, and you knew, I mean, he was firing the football out of bounds because he knew ahead of time that the penalty was there.
Yep.
I had no problem with him showing his anger. I liked seeing that fire from Lamar in that moment with his frustration. So I think Calais Campbell has kind of been the leader for this team, the guy that everybody takes their cues from. But look, man, I think that Lamar should be that guy. He should be the guy that's calling everybody out and saying, we got to be better than this. So I also like that.
Just a flip side of that, watching Brady at this point in his career, it seems like everybody else is
it's
at
petulance.
Fault.
It's petulance.
Yeah, it's really that arrogance, the hubris that comes out. He's got to be. He wasn't doing it as demonstratively.
There was one play though last night.
But
he missed a throw 3 yards in the dirt,
right,
and was screaming at the receiver.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, maybe the receiver ran the wrong route, but that ball was getting nowhere near him.
Well, that play was called groundhog.
Oh, it makes way more sense then.
Yeah, he's also a Microsoft tablet's worst nightmare on the
That's
sideline.
true. There is that as well. Micah, who's number 1 for you?
My number 1 was Likely. Just seeing a rookie come in for easily the number 1 target on the Ravens when Mark Andrews went down. it was good to see a touchdown from him.
Excellent. And Griffin?
And so for my number one, I went with another offensive guy, and I think by the end of the game, he was the story of the offense. I mean, you had Isaiah Likely and Lamar Jackson, obviously, and then this guy was right behind him, and I think he had a really great second half after handling Vita. Vita Vea was tough on him in the first half, so I went with Tyler Linderbaum as my number one. He was pancaking guys 20 yards downfield.
I was going to mention. I was going to mention.
He looked really, really good in the second half.
This offensive line is coming together right now. You know, the return of Ronnie Stanley has calmed some things down. Linderbaum has struggled the first 5-6 games,
and to be able to bounce back,
he's been coming on lately.
Yeah, after the botched snap a couple weeks ago in New York, and I think he had a almost flawless game, and so Linderbaum, my number one.
I have no problem with number one's aggressive, but I have no problem with saying Tyler Linderbaum played a hell of a game last night and was a big part of the story of how they got things going offensively. So I'm with it. Did you guys happen to can you send or give your list to Griffin so that he can include him in what we post?
I copied it.
Oh, you copied it. Wonderful,
yeah.
Griffin. We'll share everyone's list.
Yeah.
We can give it away. Are you okay with us doing that? If somebody's willing to offer a $100 charitable donation to the Stand the Fan Foundation,
Stand the Fan Foundation.
We will get you an autographed version of Stan's first ever Pats on the Ass list.
Actually, my foundation is called the Stan Charles Finishing School for Young Girls.
When
you attend
I don't think we can make those jokes anymore, Stan. I think we have to retire those at this point. By the way, this is something for you before we get to Bo Smolka.
Yes.
The Ringer today did an oral history of 20 years ago when Warren Zevon was dying and came to the Letterman show. And it is one of the great – I spent some time with it this morning, and I'm not even the biggest Warren Zevon fan. Like, I liked Warren Zevon,
right,
but not like David Letterman.
What kind of cancer did he have?
It was throat cancer, if I remember correct.
Go to the Ringer.com.
TheRinger.com. It is very emotional. David Letterman talking about what that night meant to him and why he decided and the power of knowing Warren Zevon was dying in that moment, that – They dedicated the entire show to him. I
did not remember that.
It's a really good read. 20 years ago, David Letterman doing that show for Warren Zevon. It's a really good read at The Ringer. All right, today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Every Friday, we catch up with PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka. He's back with us this morning here on GCR. Bo, it's Glenn and Stan. Always good to catch up with you, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Good morning. You're welcome.
Bo, I know you were tweeting about it last night. I was tweeting about it last night. I will never understand how you get to 34 pass plays, 30 attempted passes, 2 sacks, and 2 Lamar Jackson runs, to 5 runs in the first half. We can be here for an eternity, and I won't understand that. But you have to credit the Ravens, the adjustments they made at the half. They clearly played their best second half of football all season long.
Oh, there's no question about it. And, I was scratching my head, and I understand to an extent that the Buccaneers were down several defensive backs, so it looked like they were just trying to attack where they felt the Buccaneers were weak. I mean, at the basic level, I think that was the plan, but it's just not who they are. And I think Lamar Jackson throwing 30 passes in the first half of a game is just never going to be what they want to be. It just didn't look like them, and they had no rhythm. And I know after the game, John Harbaugh said this game plan went exactly as we wanted it to. But, I mean, that's a little disingenuous because, quite frankly, they would have been shut out if it weren't for an absolute gift that gave them the ball at the 6-yard line. Now, they probably should have kicked a field goal, and they chose to go for it another time they got close. But the offense just didn't have any rhythm in the first half. And if you wanted to say, okay, the idea is we're going to attack this weakness that we know the Buccaneers have because they're shorthanded. Well, by the end of the first half, you were also missing your best 2 offensive receiver targets. So you were shorthanded as well. And that was probably also a factor. And Demarcus Robinson stepped up and Isaiah Likely stepped up. But it didn't look like their offense. It didn't look like it at all. And so I questioned it. And so in the second half, they got back to who they are. And they ran the ball down their throats, and the Buccaneers couldn't stop them at all. And the Ravens ended up averaging 7 yards a carry in the game. They had long, sustained drives. They had a long drive. They got the ball back quickly. They had another long drive. And you could see that the Buccaneers were just gassed defensively. Those defensive linemen are breathing heavily. They're just worn out. And the Ravens got another long drive. And that's what they want to do. And that it looked so much like what they want to be. They scored on all 4 of their second half possessions, 3 touchdowns. And then, of course, there was the last kneel down one. But they were just dominant in the second half, dominant. And they did it because they ran the ball. And so I did not understand. I can understand the concept in the first half, but I don't understand why they didn't veer from it at all.
Bo, the offensive line suddenly looks, with the improved play by Linderbaum as he's getting used to the speed of the game and the intensity of the game, and Ronnie Stanley being back out there, a good chunk of it, suddenly the offensive line looks like it's good enough for them to have this identity again.
I agree with you, and that's why they can run the ball 7 yards a pop.
Yeah.
And early in the game, there were a couple of miscommunications where when Jackson got sacked one time, it looks like Stanley was pulling.
Yeah,
It looked like he thought it was a run play to the right. He goes to pull, and then I forget who it was had a clean path right to Jackson. So there are a couple of mini breakdowns, but Tyler Linderbaum was dominant last night. I know they gave up one early sack to Vita Vea's side. He and Ben Powers got beat, but if you watch Tyler Linderbaum, he completely manhandled Devin White, a good linebacker for the Buccaneers. I mean, as I wrote, he turned him into his own personal blocking sled. I mean, he had him engaged downfield 15 yards, and those legs are still moving as Jackson or Gus Edwards is running almost alongside them. It was just a dominant performance from Linderbaum. And they rotated McCary in at both left and right tackle, so that helps those linemen a little bit. And the offensive line is playing well. And when they're running the ball for 7 yards a pop, you can guarantee that offensive line is operating at a high level.
And one other thing for me, Bo, let's go back to the first half, that play you alluded to where they went for it on 4th down. Did you have a problem with the fact that they prioritized going for like an 8 or 9 yard touchdown versus trying to gain the couple yards and get the first down there?
I just didn't like the decision overall. I know Lamar Jackson is always going to plead his case to keep the offense on the field. It's just how he's wired. I mean, he will never concede that, we should kick a field goal here. He wants to stay on the field. But in that situation, it just looked to me like the offense, it just didn't quite look like it was clicking at that point. You've got an absolute gimme points from Tucker. You're scuffling. And and I know on the broadcast they explained that he was looking for a shorter throw to Prochet across the middle that was just over the first down marker, and it just wasn't available. The linebacker stayed home, and he had no look at Prochet, so then he had to kind of improvise, and his improvisation took him to Robinson in the end zone. But overall, I just didn't like the idea. It wasn't 4th and an inch; it was 4th and a good 2 yards from the 10. And he's pleading to Harbaugh to stay. We're going to stay on the field. We're going to stay on the field. And Harbaugh, and he said after the game, Lamar Jackson said, to the extent of, I love that Harbaugh always gives us that confidence. Well, if they keep not getting it, then you can't keep giving that confidence. And I just don't. The feel of the game at that point told me they should take points. I get the reason why they do it sometimes. I didn't like the decision at that point.
Bo Smolka is with us. His appearance this week is brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Use the code TAILGATE, and you'll save $100 when you reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill. GinsuGrills.com is the website. Bo, Isaiah Likely obviously was outstanding last night. How do we measure we saw the talent in the preseason. We thought he was a guy that could step up and become a guy versus, hey, let's keep it in perspective. It's one game. Maybe we don't get too carried away about it. Obviously, it was a huge thing last night. It's obviously very pleasant. But what's the appropriate way to gauge Isaiah Likely's performance last night?
That is exactly what we saw all summer in training camp. I mean, that was the guy that we saw. And I wasn't expecting him to take over from Mark Andrews, but I was expecting from the start this year that he would be a productive second tight end for this team. And then he had a couple drops in the first game against the Jets, and it looked like he and they both lost a little confidence in him. And he became just kind of a bit part for the next month. But this is the guy that we saw. This is the guy who's capable of making catches, breaking tackles after he makes the catch, working himself open. What's the future for him? I mean, if Mark Andrews comes back, clearly Mark Andrews is still going to be Lamar Jackson's favorite target, and likely became his favorite target last night when Mark Andrews was out. But I think likely is a really good weapon. I think he needs to be involved in that passing game more, and I think a game like last night gives him and Jackson, again, a sense of trust. And we talked about the way quarterbacks trust a player, and it happened early this year with Duvernay and Jackson, and I think in this case it can happen with Likely and Jackson. But I think he needs to be involved. I don't think we'll see him getting 7 to 10 targets when Andrews is on the field, but I do think he will and can contribute this way the rest of the way.
Yeah, he was outstanding. There's no doubt about it. The other guy, Stan was talking about him earlier, and I know you wrote about him in the most recent print issue of PressBox. You can go pick that up right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. But Devin Duvernay, this role that he's carving for himself as this kind of jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife. I know we've kind of retired Swiss Army knife for Taysom Hill, but Devin Duvernay doing so many things to be impactful. I get it. He's not, a number one receiver in the NFL. He's not, he's not Mike Evans. That was clear last night. God, it must be nice to have a Mike Evans. But what Devin Duvernay offers in so many capacities is proving to be really beneficial for this team.
There's no doubt. I thought he was one of the more underrated players last year too, and they just didn't utilize him much. Last year was a case where he'd get a jet sweep, and then that would be his touch, and you wouldn't hear from him again the rest of the game. And other than kick returning and punt returning, and I kept questioning, well, why is Duvernay only getting 1 or 2 touches a game on offense? As I've said for 2 years, it just seems good things happen when the ball's in his hands. And now he's being used more as a receiver. He makes contested catches for his size. I remember way back to when he was drafted, Eric DeCosta praised Duvernay's toughness. He didn't say he was Anquan Boldin or Steve Smith, but he mentioned that kind of toughness toughness in the course of making the catch and after the catch. And some of his touchdowns this year have been contested catches. And then, of course, he's dangerous on these run plays they run with him. And he scored a touchdown on one last night. A couple of times they've lined him up as a straight running back look. He can do a lot of different things for them. The other thing that he does is that at least on a couple, I don't know about last night, but at least on a couple of the big runs by Lamar Jackson this year, they've been set up by a fake sweep to Duvernay, because Duvernay comes along on the jet sweep. It's a fake to Duvernay. You can watch those inside linebackers break with Duvernay thinking he's getting the ball, and that opens up the middle of the field for Jackson. So Duvernay, what he's done and what he's done as a decoy, I think have both been really, really important for this team. So, yeah, I think he will continue to have a big, big role.
Bo, of the injuries last night, Andrews, Bateman, and then Gus Edwards. At the very end, Kyle Hamilton kind of limped off a little bit. Do you know much about any of them yet? I guess it's way too early.
I don't, but of the 4, I would think Edwards is the one that's most concerning, only because Harbaugh was the one that Harbaugh said after the game, we'll wait and know more tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He said after the game that Andrews was not serious. Bateman had tweaked his foot. Kyle Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, went back on the field shortly after he was out and made a nice play at the goal line. I thought Hamilton is starting to trend upward again.
Yep.
But John Harbaugh said with Edwards, we're going to have to wait and see tomorrow. And so that's not very good. And even if they mentioned it as a hamstring rather than his ACL tear, but Edwards had told us last week that he had torn his hamstring in addition to everything else he tore. So if it's an aggravation of that injury, remember Justice Hill missed several games with a hamstring injury. If it's an aggravation of his hamstring injury, I would think it's likely he would miss a few games, even with this long stretch where they only play once in the next 3 weeks. Right. So that stretch is actually good for a guy like Andrews or Bateman or Josh Bynes, who missed the game last night. But I think of all those guys that got hurt last night, just listening to Harbaugh, it sounds like Edwards is the one to be most concerned about.
Bo, before we let you go, this is going to be the last time we chat before the NFL trade deadline next week. Obviously, you know, we're guessing. I understand there's no way to know, but what's your gut tell you about the possibility of the Ravens being involved, and what would you be prioritizing if you were the Ravens looking at things at the deadline?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Honestly, if I were prioritizing, I think I would prioritize an inside linebacker. But again, the cost comes into play. And, you know, I know people have brought up Roquan Smith's name, but I just look at their linebacker situation. And like Josh Bynes missed the game last night. They started A.J. Klein, who they've played Malik Harrison some inside and some outside, but there's just no depth there at inside linebacker for them. And I don't know what they would get in terms of what they'd be willing to give up in terms of draft capital. DaCosta never really wants to give up too much, and what kind of salary they'd be willing to take on. So those all will come into play, but I know people want them to trade for DJ Moore or one of the wide receivers. With Bateman being hurt, that's a fair question. But when I look at their needs, the way they play, I think their biggest need right now is an inside linebacker. But you know, edge rushers, there's edge rushers out there that might get traded, but remember, they expect to get Bowser and Ajabo back. I thought Bowser might play last night, but he did not. But they expect to get them back soon. So they feel like their edge rush group will be back to full strength soon enough. So I don't know that they would pull the trigger on an edge rusher, but I look at their inside linebacker group, and, I mean, they're an injury from Patrick Queen away from being in a real crisis mode there.
That's
so if they're going to make a trade there, I think that would be the position I would be looking at.
That's pretty astute. You know, I was still thinking wide receiver.
Oh, look, I'm still going to think about wide receiver.
But Bo makes a better point.
I understand that. Bo, remind everybody
That's why he's Bo Smolka.
That's correct. That's the reason why we hired him. Bo, you remind everybody about the podcast?
Yes, I do a podcast with former Ravens tight end Daniel Wilcox on the Believe Network. That's BLEAV. We just finished recording a breakdown of the game today, and Wilcox is really good. He's got such a good sense of what the players feel after a game like that and how it works. And he's been critical of certain things. He was not as critical of that offense last night as I was expecting. He kind of liked the fact that they came out throwing and had the Bucs off guard. I disagree with him, but we go back and forth and have a good time with it. So that's on the Believe Network, BLEAV.
At B Smolka on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, all of his stuff, PressBoxOnline.com. He is Bo Smolka. Bo, appreciate it, sir. We'll talk to you next Friday.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka joining us here on GCR. All right, Stan, we talked a lot of Ravens. We're going to give you an opportunity to tell us what you're thinking ahead of the World Series when we come back in. As that gets underway tonight, we'll have more Ravens talk with Sean Salisbury and World Series talk with Sean Salisbury coming up here in a bit. But we'll get Stan the Fan's thoughts on expectations as the Phillies and Astros get things underway tonight in Houston. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 1st at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill, 5506 Hartford Road. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is here in studio with us. You guys are getting me your pats on the ass. We'll continue to share them throughout the course of the day. Paul Novilando wants to give some love to Morgan Moses as his number 5 for a dominating performance. Gus Edwards at 4, Broderick Washington, Justin Houston 2, and Isaiah Likely 1. Nick Matabike, number 5, had a big sack there at the end of the game. Things were a little I think we're pretty confident about where the game was going at that point, but it was still a very nice play. Matabike's had a very nice season. I think he's come on exceptionally well this season. Lamar 4, Justin Houston 3, Greg Roman number 2.
I was thinking about putting Greg Roman.
I absolutely considered putting Greg.
That
it was
first
just
half
tough.
was
I had to leave
yeah.
Tyler Linderbaum off my list, right? Like, who am I taking off the list to put Roman on?
Right. And
but
those are the rules.
Those are exactly right,
ass,
right?
You know?
And we don't let people cheat. It is a sacred game, Stan. It's been passed down through generations. Pats on the ass. So we
Chubba
can't.
Hubbard created it, didn't he?
Correct. That's why he's one of the greats.
Chuba
Hubbard, yes. And yeah, Griffin, to your point, I agree. The first half was questionable enough that I said,
right.
I appreciate the adjustments.
I thought it was me playing Madden back in middle school, where I was just going to throw it every play.
Yeah.
Because who needs to run the ball? Who wants to do that?
Shauna 5, Washington 4, Houston 3. Kenyon Drake obviously had a couple of big plays last night. 2 to Marcus Robinson, 1 Isaiah Likely. My guy Tony Thornton from BAL, Kenyon Drake 5. 4 Justin Houston, 3 Matabike, 2 Lamar, 1 Isaiah Likely. John Proctor chimes in this morning, also agrees it was difficult. 5 Duvernay, 4 Drake, 3 Matabike, 2 Houston, 1 Likely. Oh, God. He just reminded me I'm going against him in fantasy this week, and I started Rashad Bateman last night. Damn it. Oh, but at least I also have no running backs. I keep 4 running backs on my roster, right? So my running backs are Austin Eckler, right?
On bye.
Saquon Barkley, so at least I have that. Then Ezekiel Elliott, who looks like he's not going to play. Isaiah Pacheco now, who's also on bye. And I did have Rashad White as well, but I didn't want to play White last night because I was like, what's he going to do?
Let's make a deal.
Well, this is in the other league. This isn't in the league that you and I are into it together. This is in the other league. So I realized.
Is Stan still undefeated in that league?
No, no longer undefeated.
But I did
he must have checked. He must have checked the line.
Look, I have one badge of honor this year. I beat Ken Zales.
It's true. That you got
that. Is impressive.
You'll have that.
I'll
forever.
always have that.
You will always have that, no doubt.
I started both Godwin and Mike Evans in one of my leagues.
In fact,
Mike
next week, can we get Ken on a Friday?
So
I can just
you just
like
want to make sure. Well, why don't you maybe the day that you and Stein host the show, we can make a special Monday appearance with Ken Zales for that day. Which you're missing a Friday too, right? You're missing the 11th, right? That's the day that you're out, I think.
Something
We'll
like that.
figure
We'll
it out.
figure
We'll
it
figure
all
it
out.
out. All right. My wife and I are going to Madison next weekend. We're going to go to the Maryland-Wisconsin game in Madison next Saturday, and we're going to spend the weekend out there. I've never been to Madison for a game before. I hear it is an amazing atmosphere for a football game, so looking forward to that. My wife doesn't know this part yet, but I'm also going to do some Chris Farley stuff while I'm out there. I was an obsessed Chris Farley fan, and that's where he was from, and that's where he's buried. I'm going to visit Chris Farley's grave. We're going to do some Madison stuff next weekend. Then we're going to go to what did Josh tell us? He went the chocolate shop, ice cream shop. He said to go to. Yeah. So my wife will enjoy that.
You'll bring us back T-shirts.
100%, Stan.
Extra
I will bring
large,
you back.
long sleeve.
I will bring you back.
Long sleeve T-shirt.
You got it,
from
man.
Madison.
As a thank you for coming in and hosting the show on Monday. You got it. All right, tonight, World Series gets underway in Houston, Game 1.
Wait a minute, it's not finished?
Yeah, it hasn't
it
ended. Yeah.
Very strange to have four off days before the.
Well, I mean, obviously,
it really kicks the momentum in the ass.
Did you and I talk about this?
No.
There has been a push by Scott Boras in particular to get the World Series in a neutral location,
right?
Because they want to. His idea is let's build a baseball festival
like the Super Bowl,
similar to the Super Bowl. And so baseball says, well, we're not going to do that. We want to keep home field advantage. But if we set the date for the start of the World Series, then it allows for a little bit more planning for that on everybody's part for us to have the dates lined up. So, yeah, Griffin and I talked a lot this week about how much it kind of sucked on Tuesday night. We're like, yeah, there is nothing to watch tonight.
Yep.
That stinks.
Before we talk World Series, I just want to throw this out to the folks out there that are Oriole fans and are wondering what Mike Elias might be up to during the offseason. MLB Trade Rumors today has two big stories at the first two stories when you go on there. First, Steve Cohn says the Mets are not interested in David Stearns at this time. Okay. They're not pursuing him.
Who, of course, is no longer with the Brewers.
Right.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean that next June they won't pursue him. But anyway, the second one was much more interesting here in Baltimore. Marlins may go to trade route to solve center field problem. Well, the Marlins have a couple pitchers that I know that the Orioles would like to have. And I'm going to put my hat in the ring or toss my hat in the ring and say that Jesus Luzardo, the left-handed pitcher, one time a Washington Nationals prospect, was traded in the deal for Sean Doolittle and Ryan Matson the year, I think they won the World Series.
Pretty good memory, yeah.
And he was traded from the A's. He's had an injury history, but he was traded for the A's in late July of 2021 for Starling Marte when the A's were going for it in their last season before they sold off everybody. Luzardo, and again, Buck Showalter always warned us about judging late in the season. For the year, this past season, he made 18 starts, 332 earned run average, 120 strikeouts in 100 innings, batting average against 191, and a whip of, I can't find it right there. It was like 093 or something like that. Or one something.
I'll pull it back up.
I think it was 104.
104, that's what it was. But last three games of the season, 6 2/3 innings against the Cubs, 11 strikeouts, 1 walk. Next start was against the Mets, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, only 6 strikeouts. The next start was against the Braves on October 3rd, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. So he's a dominant left-handed pitcher. Pitching in Oriole Park at Camden Yards as presently designed, he would be an absolute stud for, about 10 or 12 starts.
And now the secondary part of this is you bring up there in the market for a center fielder is are the Orioles committed to Colton Cowser as being their center fielder when he arrives? And if that's the case, do they think Cedric Mullins is so important for what he brings with his range that moving him to a corner outfield spot would be sensical because it sort of mitigates the weakness of his arm? while also to continue to take advantage of the outfield defense, which was a huge part of the story of their success this season.
Yeah, no question about it.
We have to be very clear about that. The range of this outfield was a massive story in how they were able to get things going this year. Do they say, hey, we don't want to mess with that. We want Mullins to continue to be here because we get the value of having this type of range in our outfield? Or do they say, if Colton Cowser is going to get here this season and we're committed to him as being the center fielder, then Cedric Mullins is a piece that we can move and try to use to acquire a pitcher.
I would certainly offer up and build up the 30-30 season they had a year ago. And let's keep in mind, you didn't have an embarrassing season or a bad season.
No.
This is probably more like what Cedric Mullins is like. But let's not forget, he did steal 34, 35 bases. He's a valuable,
and his range is really
good. He's got a bad arm.
Yes.
There's no question about it. But Miami would love to have Cedric Mullins. There's no question about it. He doesn't make too much money. They wouldn't have to give him an arm and a leg contract.
Stan, I'm with you. I think it's an Orioles question about Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
How do you view Cedric Mullins? Do you think, again, in trying to build whatever this group is going to be, moving towards World Series contention, do you think that you need to have that range there still? I think the subtext would be, what do you think this outfield is? I think we all agree that Colton Cowser is going to be a big part of whatever that outfield is.
No question about it.
What is the rest of the outfield when you get to that level, right? And I think that's at the moment, I think we're kind of shrugging our shoulders and saying we don't know, because I'm with you. I'm listening. We talked about Cedric Mullins with the Astros during the season. I'm listening in conversations with Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking at a dynamic rotation of Grayson Rodriguez, Jesus Luzardo, and Dean Kramer and Kyle Bradish. That begins to be,
Tyler Wells, John Means.
Wells. Well, I still think Wells is much better piece to come in and be like the Twin Towers of being late in games. We'll see. To me, his injury history.
I hear you. I hear you on that. Yeah. I think he pitched well enough this season that he gets the opportunity to continue to be a starter. It's the same thing. Like you and I are both.
I just wonder what opportunity, if you would trade for somebody like Luzardo and either sign Lyles or maybe sign Lyles and one other guy.
Sure.
You almost say to Tyler, hey,
the math's not there.
The math's not there. We think this is where you can be.
I get it. Yeah. All right. Tonight, World Series Game 1.
Yep.
In Houston.
Yep.
Phillies are red hot. Bryce Harper's been...
They were red hot.
Well, yeah, right? That's correct. They've been off for a few days, so we don't know if they're still red hot. 5 days since they last played a baseball game.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper has been a... It's unfair to say revelation because we've always known Bryce Harper is one of the best players in baseball. He's a generational talent. But he's still somehow been even better during the course of this postseason. They clearly have two dogs at the start of their rotation, two guys that they are riding the hell out of right now. The Astros have clearly been the best team in baseball all season long. They've got everything. They hit. They keep adding. Now Pena's been a revelation, right? Like they just keep adding more. Their rotation's really good. Their bullpen's unbelievable.
Well, their pitching staff, they had a 2.90 ERA for their pitching staff. Just to put it into perspective, the Dodgers had a 2.8 ERA for their pitching staff. The Phillies pitching staff is 3.97. The good news for Philly fans, though, is the two teams are almost identical offensively. If you look at their numbers, on base percentage, runs scored, they are like, a little hair difference. Mm-hmm. The big difference is the pitching staff. The good news for the Phillies fans is that they don't have to use all the pitchers that really brought their ERA up to 3.97. They're riding Nola in Game 1, Wheeler in Game 2. Clearly, if the series goes any length, they will both start 2 times. Ranger Suarez, Noah Syndergaard are the other starters. Kyle Gibson has really fallen off the face of the earth. He's one of the reasons their earned run average is 3.97, but could play a pivotal 2 or 3 innings in this World Series. I give the Phillies more than a puncher's chance in this game. I understand the Astros are an overwhelming favorite. I think you're laying 190 to win 100.
Yep.
And the Phillies, you'd
and
get
the,
back
and the game line is
165.
1.5 for the Astros on the series.
Yeah.
Look, I bet a little bit on the Astros on the game line just because I think they're the better team. But the way the Phillies have played during the course of this postseason, to your point, Stan, like if Bryce Harper keeps swinging the bat this way,
their chances go down dramatically if Nola doesn't pitch a great game tonight and they steal game 1 against a pitcher in Justin Verlander, who's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, but has a 6-point earned run average in, is it the postseason or just the World Series?
I think it's just in the World Series. I'll double check on that real quick. Did you? I don't know if you saw this, and Griffin, I hope I'm not stealing yours. Justin Verlander is becoming just the second pitcher all time to start a World Series game in a third different decade. Do you know who the other one is?
Shoot, start a world. Jim Palmer?
It's not, because remember, Jim Palmer didn't start in '83. He came out of the bullpen in '83. That tripped up a couple of people yesterday as this was floating around.
Roger.
That's correct. Roger Clemens is the other one. Roger Clemens.
I was ready to back off before you said.
Yeah, right.
Verlander is 0-6 with a 5.68 ERA in 7 World Series starts.
Okay. Yep. What's his overall postseason ERA? I'd be curious. Remember, the Orioles knocked him around pretty good in 2014.
That's a fact.
15-11, 3.55 ERA, and 33 about a season long. He's had about a season of 33 starts.
33 starts. Okay.
197 innings.
He's human. In postseason.
Correct. He's human. I agree with that. Now look, somebody would say, hey, you're facing better hitters, right? You're facing the best teams. You don't get to stockpile your stats against the Orioles,
Kansas City Royals,
right? You don't get to do that in the postseason.
No, you do not.
But still, to your point, he ain't Sandy Koufax, right? Like, he is not someone that you would say, we had this whole conversation with Tyler Kepner about, is it that you're raising your game or just trying to continue to stay on the trajectory? He has not raised his game for sure in his postseason career. He's been about what he is, maybe a little bit worse.
That quote, I'm almost positive it was Johnny Padres who said it back in the mid-'50s, and it was really about players getting too uptight, and it's the players that can stay emotionally like an Eddie Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter with Eddie Murray if it was the first inning or you were down 2 runs and 2 men on in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. His emotion was the same.
Absolutely.
And some performers recede from greatness. Others just are able to live up to the moment.
100%. Look, it will be interesting to see. Bryce Harper right now has handled the moment. I mean, I can't say enough, right? And I know there are people that hate Bryce Harper for whatever reason because he was the clown question. I really don't understand the hate for Bryce Harper. I got to be honest with
it's
you.
Interesting. If you read Jim Henneman's piece on PressBoxOnline.com, he talked about it, and I remember he wrote that piece about who the hell does this kid think he is when he was 16 or 17 years old, saying he wanted to be, in the majors by 19 or 20, and something like that. And Jim Henneman, I remember saying, calm down, boy, you're just 16 years old. And the kid, and Jim sort of acknowledges, like, boy, was I off on that one.
He's proven to be exactly as good as everybody said he was, and now that he's getting the opportunity to do it under the brightest lights and on the biggest stage, he is proving to be a guy that's
And I know Philly pretty well because I used to park cars in Atlantic City when I went to college, and I was over in Philly a lot. Philly is the right town for Bryce Harper. It's helping him elevate his game.
Okay.
That scene where he got that, not the home run, the double that drove in a tying runner.
Yep.
And he took off his
Superman
thing, and he was yelling, "This is my effing house." This is our house. So
it's been a fit. It's been a fit. The money has been well worth it to this point with Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies. We will see if that continues. All right, we're trying to get down to Houston. I know he's busy, but we're trying to get down to Houston to catch up with Sean Salisbury. We will hope to do that. If not, we still have plenty to do. Stan the Fan is here. We've got Jalen Smith coming up for sure. Pride of Baltimore getting ready for Wizards Pacers tonight.
We could also rerun my first ever Pats on the helmet.
It's true. Pats on the ass. Pats on the ass. Right. Like,
what's
slaps
the other one?
slaps to the
helmet
helmet is
yeah.
the other one that we do. Pats on the ass. It was magical. People are talking about it. There's a
lot of buzz on Twitter.
100%. Al Michaels keeps previewing it for. It's like and coming up tomorrow. Pats on the.
Al Michaels loves me.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Not like Mike Tirico,
Not
who
like
said middle finger, right?
right.
Like, no way. Al Michaels said if the game was only this weekend, he would have been happy to come on and preview it with you. It's just unfortunate the game was. And I want to be clear, Jalen Smith couldn't make it with you, but it wasn't nothing personal.
Right. It was
this
timing.
wasn't a Tirico thing.
This is a timing
Again,
issue.
the Tirico thing, I had a lot of questions about what happened between you and Tirico, the way that he was saying things. There were words that were said.
I may hire Bo to write the cover story on PressBox next year
about Tirico. Oh
and
boy.
the van.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh my. This could get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This could get very uncomfortable. All right, we got a lot more to do. Stan the Fan is here. Today's show also brought to you by Guilford Hall Brewery. They have a huge Halloween party coming up tomorrow night. You're going to want to be there. If you've not checked out Guilford Hall yet, it is an amazing venue. Oh, it is spectacular.
Tell people why it's spectacular.
So you're going to pull up in Station North. You're going to say, okay, this place looks cool. And then you're going to walk in and say, it's so much cooler than I thought it was.
It's spectacular.
It's spectacular. Multiple different levels. Some more private areas, a public space upstairs. They have an outdoor area that, if the weather stays just nice enough, the fall weather that you can enjoy for a little bit longer before we're all going to stay inside and enjoy the winter hibernating for 3 or 4 months. But you can still enjoy that right now. The food, the Bavarian-style menu, incredible. The craft beer selection is just unbelievable. The Guilford Hall Lager is delicious. All of it. You are going to walk away saying, I can't believe this place is here. This is an amazing location. Big Halloween party tomorrow night. Free to get in. They got a costume contest, live music, and more.
Is that where Micah is going?
Micah's going trick-or-treating, Stan, we learned. He's going to just be wandering around. He might be coming to your house based on where Stevenson is. He might be wandering through your neighborhood trick-or-treating this weekend. So I hope you got the I hope you didn't go with the fun-size candy bars. I hope you got the king-size candy bars for Micah and his friends. Micah's dressing up as Poseidon. Is Poseidon shirtless or you?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I see. I
got my trident.
Look at you.
My fishing net.
Look at you. Stan and I, of course, posed naked for a calendar. So we're also very confident men.
Yeah,
quite
there you
clearly.
go.
Boysofhamden.com.
I should have worn my costume in for the show today.
You should have.
I'm
actually really disappointed that you didn't. Boysofhamden.com is the website. Pre-order your calendar. But yeah, Guilford Hall Brewery, the place to be for a Halloween party tomorrow night. GuilfordHall.com to find out more. Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to GuilfordHall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back with Season 2 of The Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for The Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 1st at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill, 5506 Hartford Road. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR, Stan the Fan Charles is here. A reminder, the Tyus Bowser Show returns this coming Tuesday, so maybe we'll get an answer about that timeline and the Saints game. This coming Tuesday, we will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. Hope that you will join us. Tyus and a special guest will be there. You can find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. The Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Stan, a question from Jeremy. Jeremy says...
Jeremy Kahn's asking
I don't believe
me
it's
a
Jeremy
question.
Kahn. Don't believe it's Jeremy Kahn. Although you never know. Jeremy says, understand Stan's argument for a pitcher, but isn't the offense more of the issue right now for the Orioles, and aren't they a worse team if they trade away Cedric Mullins in that case?
No, I don't think they're a worse team. I expect the team to basically have a couple new players on this team on the offensive side of the ball as well.
Do you think they're spending money on offense?
I think they'll spend some money on offense. I think there's clearly probably 40 guys out there that could help them offensively as free agents. There's probably about 6 or 8 that everybody's going to be after pitching wise. So the dollars will be spent on offense. The pitching will be acquired via trade.
Okay. In
my opinion.
Okay.
And look, I still don't have next year as the year that I'm sort of saying, hey, we have I still say even trading Mullins for Luzardo, we're a much better team. And by the way, you got to give up a really good prospect along with Mullins.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're kind of Norby or
a Westberg maybe.
A Westberg, but you also project that Kauser will be here next year. At the latest, mid-June to July 1st.
I think that timeline actually makes complete sense for Kauser to maybe be somebody that can continue to help with the offense. Look, I definitely think they need to spend money on bats. I think they need to do that. To your point, I've said all along, I'm still a little uncomfortable with identifying next year as the year for them to move into your major contention. I think it's absolutely the goal next year should be to get into the
playoffs
100%.
next year. Yeah,
I think it.
And I'll tell you what, you have Luzardo. Forget who else they get, whether it's Lucas Giolito as a trade, but if they get Luzardo and would have everybody else back that they have right now, I'll take my chances that the second half of next year the Orioles are very, very good.
Yeah, it certainly paints quite the picture for what this team is capable of being if that's the case. And from Daryl says, what do you think the reason was for the change at the half last night? I feel like that might have been a moment where John Harbaugh finally stepped in and said, Greg, what in the F are we doing? It's time to do something different. Daryl, who knows? I mean, like, my God. Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to be this. If you're still trying to use last night to just keep the flames of your Greg Roman hate alive, I don't know, seek help.
I mean, it almost didn't seem like a Greg Roman offense in the first half. Like,
yeah, the argument would be that would be the exact opposite.
Like somebody else, almost like somebody else was calling plays or something.
No, and I don't think that's the case. But I understand what you're saying,
Griffin.
It just feels like we're I had somebody else last night who said last night is an example of why we hate Greg Roman, because we know what they're capable of and he's not doing. Like what? Man, go see a shrink. Go see a priest. Go see somebody, man. Go see a Hare Krishna or something. Like, you got this much hate in your heart for somebody that after a night in which they were great and orchestrated a brilliant second half offensively, that you just got to find something to continue to cling on to. Dude, go take a walk by a river or something like that, man. Like, do something to work on your mental health, because that is not a good sign. John Harbaugh stepped in. This isn't about, like, Jesus Christ. I did ask at the end of the game if anybody wanted to call in and offer me a culpa, because I saw y'all's tweets at the half last night. I saw all of your first half tweets.
There was nobody asking for Sean Payton last night.
Weird. And very few of you that were willing to call in and say, yeah, I screwed up. My fault. My bad. I keep trying to tell you this. We're trying to skip ahead. As fans, we constantly try to skip ahead. Instead of just watching the games and seeing what happens and then reacting to that. They won last week, and all we wanted to do, this isn't going to work. They're going to have to blow it up. They won. They're 4-3. Now they're 5-3. You're trying to skip ahead.
Good win last night.
Great win last night. Yeah. Great win. All right, Stan, we're going to do Young Yutes this morning, all right? I want you to be involved with Young Yutes. I want you to let me know. We're going to grade this. Mike is going to tell us about something the Utes are into. Mm-hmm. And I want you to judge, are the young insane?
Well, I know that already.
I understand, but specifically,
based on
whatever the stories are that he shares, I want you to be the judge of, do we need to pray for the youths because of the relevance of a story?
The Young Yutes.
Right? Or do you say, you know what, I get it. All right? That's the way that I want to judge this moving forward with Young Yutes. Micah is here. He is our resident Young Ute. He will let us know what it is that's going on in the world of the Young Utes. Micah's Young Utes is brought to you this week by Glory Days Grill. $6.99 appetizers after 9 o'clock, including the smoky thigh wings. $6.99 appetizers. So if you're out with Micah trick-or-treating this weekend and you get back and you're like, man, I'm hungry, I've got great news. Appetizers are just $6.99 at Glory Days Grill. Get your order in. GloryDaysGrill.com. All right. Micah, what's going on in the world of the Young Utes?
Well, after that, I have the perfect one to start off
with.
Oh,
good.
So have you heard of the Kia challenge on TikTok?
Nope.
No, I'm going to find out, though. And remember, I'm judging.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And I can hear the judgment already. I can already hear the judgment.
This one's perfect.
Voice.
So this came from TikTok. It started a couple weeks ago, but it's just been, like, just uptrending, getting more popular and more cases across the country. So pretty much the Kia challenge is their TikTok tutorials that show how to pretty much carjack one model of a Kia car with nothing but a USB. So all you have to do is plug something into the USB.
It's
and
just like America's Got Talent where
you can just start the car and steal the car. So it started on TikTok. People were just showing.
But how do you get into the car?
Well, I don't know. You can break a window.
You just start pulling handles. It's unlocked.
Pull a handle.
Oh, for God's sake!
This is what our youth.
This is what they're doing.
Yeah. So it's a Kia Sportage
wait a second,
SUV.
Hang on. They're posting videos of themselves on TikTok.
Yeah.
Stealing cars?
Yeah.
Do they understand, like, that's
Grand Theft Auto?
Well, wait a minute. One thing I'd feel much better about the youth, do they at least wear masks? I mean, they're
posting on their own TikTok accounts.
I feel like most of them probably don't show their faces.
Okay. That's a good start.
Maybe.
But it's on their own TikTok.
The video exists.
Yeah, but
this is a prosecutor's dream.
But also, Kia has done nothing. Like, the Kia Sportage SUV, it's just super susceptible to getting, like, what's it called where you, like, Hot wired.
Yeah.
So you just plug in a USB and the car's hot wired, pretty much.
What in the world?
And Kia's done
What
nothing
is
to
going on with our youth?
stop.
I am very worried.
I'm judging with you. I'm with you,
No,
Stan.
I knew that was the
This
perfect
is-
one to
this
start
is-
off
Wait,
with.
so
after your
you just
intro.
plug in a USB?
And I think Glenn and I agree.
into,
And
like,
then the
the
car's
we're
yours.
not as upset that they're teaching people how to carjack. It's that they're teaching it with the proof right
They're
on.
posting
They're
it.
posting
They're
it.
posting it on Twitter. I'm actually starting to think this is all a setup by the cops.
Maybe their defense is we were just kidding.
Right,
we were
yeah,
just
right.
kidding.
Oh, we were just
doing it
just
on
doing
our
the Kia
car.
challenge.
Right,
That's
right.
all it was.
Also,
Like,
TikTok has come out and said they don't condone that behavior.
I mean,
That's really nice. of
Underage
them.
GTA.
How old are the people that run TikTok?
yeah, right.
That
We just-
23.
We just want you guys to know we're not okay with this. Are you taking it down? No.
No,
We're
but
just
we-
letting you know we don't
don't
support it.
right.
We don't support the Kia challenge. I just learned what the Target challenge was recently. Did you ever do the Target challenge with your girlfriend?
I don't know
Micah?
if I know the Target
The
challenge.
Target date night challenge. You grab your significant other or a partner.
And go to Target.
Go to Target, pick
And
up.
steal
you,
stuff?
you create. No. I don't think you steal anything.
In a stolen Kia
you
Sport
agree to a
edition.
budget.
in a stolen Kia.
Yes, correct. You
Right.
agree to a budget, and you
Right.
pick up these items on the shopping list and surprise each other with your gifts. One, their favorite snack, their favorite drink, something of their favorite color, something they need, something that reminds you of them, something you want them to try, something you need for the house. And then, like, it's who did better. Who did better with the budget? This is a date night at Target.
Wouldn't it be better as the Royal Farms Target?
5 minutes. We'll talk to Sean Salisbury. Absolutely. Would it be better at the Royal Farms Challenge? Yeah, I like that a lot
I
better.
like that a lot.
I agree. All right, Micah, what's next?
All right, so next we have, I know we talked about Kanye last week, but
I'm good with never talking about him again.
he has had a historically bad week this week. So after his comments and being banned from Twitter, Instagram, like all the social medias, his net worth this week has gone from an estimated $2 billion to an estimated $400 million. He got dropped by Balenciaga, Yeezy, Foot Locker. His school shut down, which has 3 top 50 high school basketball players in the nation. So their school's just gone now, and they have to find a new place to go. And he's just
I think the basketball players will be okay. I think there'll be a few schools that might be willing to pick them
definitely.
up. Yeah.
But he also, after getting dropped by Adidas, he walked into Skechers HQ trying to get them to pick up Yeezy, and they immediately escorted him out by
Good.
security. So
Good.
things are not looking too good for Ye.
Good.
Oh, but he did officially post that he parted ways with Kanye West. Ye and Kanye are.
Who gives a rat's ass? The only thing I have a problem with this is when people like attempt to make themselves seem smarter by being like, well, you can say, stop. This is well deserved. This is well deserved.
Yeah.
You don't get to say these things. Now, I have heard the argument. I wish that we would have canceled him when he said slavery was a choice. I wish that in hindsight we would have said then enough with this dude. And I agree with that. But at least we're getting to it now, and we're understanding there's no reason to continue to give this man any sort of platform. He has nothing to offer to society. He's vile. He is a vile, disgusting human being.
Yeah, and a 1.6 billion drop in net worth is a good start.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it continuing.
Yeah.
to
He's
drop.
getting closer to what his true worth as a human being is.
Yes.
He's a lot closer to it today than he was about 2 weeks ago.
Fact.
Yeah.
Nothing to offer society.
Yeah.
Get the F out of here. I am completely in favor and continue to stand. I know, Stan, I am not Jewish, but continue to stand with my friends like
And
you
I'll
who
just
are.
tell you, all seriousness, he's mentally ill in addition to being a vile person. And Kim Kardashian, I know she's got plenty of money. She ought to have security around her and her kids.
I don't disagree with that.
This guy's a bad, bad dude.
I don't disagree. All right, number 3.
Number 3, we have yesterday officially the Twitter acquisition has gone through. So Elon Musk, even though he's more your generation or in between your generations, it's definitely a big thing for youth that Twitter is being taken over. He's taking the company private. And yeah, so he acquired Twitter for a cash buyout of $44 billion.
I'm in a weird place with this, right? Where, look, I think there's a lot of nervousness and apprehension about what it means for Twitter. I know there's a lot being made about, does this mean that Donald Trump is coming back to Twitter, for example, right? Like, I don't really have any interest in having those conversations right now. I thought the statement he made was good, where he said, like, we can't let Twitter become a free-for-all hellscape. Like, there still has to be rules and there still has to be regulations in place. And so, like, at least there's some amount of understanding of, like, hey, to just keep railing about free speech, you don't understand what free speech is. There are consequences for the thing.
Responsibilities that come
exactly
with it.
Right.
I do like, he also said that he wants, so like the algorithm is like a big thing that people talk about like on social media, is like what gets shown a lot and what doesn't, like what gets a lot of engagement and what doesn't. And he said he wants all the algorithms for like his new version of Twitter to be like open source. So like people have more of a say. Well, in theory, people have more of a say and like are more aware of what's going on instead of just being like shut off from getting views, or like one thing gets pushed a lot, which seems like a good thing.
Yeah,
but will it happen?
Right, correct. And what will they choose to prioritize in building a new? Yeah, I don't know, man. My guess is it's not going to be dramatically different.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I do think that it will not surprise me if Donald Trump ends up back on Twitter at some point, and that's. There's been a lot of push this week that like some of the biggest advertisers involved with Twitter have said that will be our breaking point. Like we'll stay on board, but that would be our breaking point. It will be interesting to see, because if you're Elon Musk and you're the richest man on the planet, he might be inclined to say, the hell with you, I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not all that important to me, but. I don't know, man. I'm not comfortable with Elon Musk being a singular governor.
I was gonna say
anything. I don't care for that.
I'm not Elon's biggest fan, but I know a lot of people in my generation
adore the guy.
Obsessed
right.
with Elon
Musk.
Musk.
He's a brilliant guy. There's no question about it. But after what I'm somebody that remembers what Donald Trump appeared to be like as early as like 1975.
Yeah, I don't remember
reading about him in the New York Post Daily News. And what he's become. You could see 15 years from now, maybe even 10, Musk being a very dangerous person, just as much as he's a positive force.
Anyone with that much money,
that doesn't have to face consequences, that just gets to live in a way that is, if there's no consequences for my actions, then why choose the greater good? Why choose the benefit for society, right? Like I hope. I think we all find Twitter to be mostly a good thing. I mean, I think we all find there to be quite a few perils involved. But I hope that Twitter continues to be a place where we're going to want to go. All right, that's Young Yutes for this week. Thank you, Micah. Solid job with that.
Thank you.
We will get back to we're going to talk both some football and some World Series with our next guest. He is one of my favorite human beings on the face of the planet. This man has been good to me and good to everyone in this business for a very long time. He also happens to be damn good at what he does.
He's never done a damn thing for me.
Well,
because I don't know.
In fairness, he said some things. He said a few things.
Don't start that.
Yeah, right.
Sean.
It's not a Tirico thing though. Love this guy so much. Now with the Sports Talk 790 down in Houston, he is our friend and former NFL quarterback, Mr. Sean Salisbury. He's back with us on GCR. Sean, it's Glenn. It's so great to catch up with you, buddy. I want to introduce you to my friend Stan the Fan Charles, longtime radio host here in Baltimore. Thank you for taking the time for us.
It's great to be on with you. I know who Stan is. And Stan, give me a minute. I'll do something for you. Something for you. Something good, brother. I got you.
I'll bet you will.
Hey, man.
There you go.
So great to catch up with you. I want to talk some Ravens with you, but can you just paint the picture for me right now as you guys are getting ready for Game 1 down there? This is the best team in baseball. It's a team that just keeps getting better. Their bullpen's now the most dominant. I know there have been some disappointments in recent years, but how confident are Astros fans going into the World Series?
Very. And, Glenn, it's odd. Now, I don't know if this sounds arrogant, or is. Maybe it is, and it's swagger, but it's not. The young Astros, that when they first got the World Series, mean mugging in the dugout with the camera, which is fine. It's almost a more calm confidence where and I'm telling you this not only with fans but players, they expected to be here. They have expected. Now they put all the time in, which helped, but they expected to be there. And their bullpen and their starting pitching, for the most part, other than a few missed starts, has not faltered the entire season. Steve Sparks, who does the games for us on the radio, and a former pitcher, we were talking, and he comes on every week on my show. And all year long, we kept saying, okay, well, we can't expect this trend. When the hitters were like, when Bregman was slumping, we can't expect the trend of these pitchers to struggle this long for a long. I mean, to be this good this long all season long, they're going to struggle somewhere, and they never did. They never went through the lull of a 9-game losing streak where the bullpen and starting pitching just let them down. They're dominant. They're starters. They're I mean, to the point where Urquidy and Garcia can't get a start, and one won 13 games, one won 14 or 15 games coming out, and now they're both in the bullpen. So yeah, they've been spectacular. Now Bregman's raking, but they expected to be here, not taken for granted, expected. But their roster's been that good, and the window's not anywhere near closing with the young players like Pena and Alvarez, and they expect to win this series. And I think pitching could be the difference because the bullpens, I think it's a heavy advantage to the Astros.
How do you explain, Sean, that Verlander, who's a first-ballot Hall of Famer, his struggles in World Series play? I think his earned run average, we said, was over 5. Can you sort of, because you were a performer on the big stage in sports, what could that possibly be about?
That's a great question, Stan. We were discussing it this morning, and Verlander even answered to that of, you know what, while it's not on his mind, he wants to win a World Series, but there's no doubt when you check off MVP and Cy Young, and if he keeps pitching like this, 4 more years, he's going to be at 3 more years at 300 wins, which seems now like an outlandish spot to get to the way we treat pitchers. But he's seen both eras of the way we used to and the way we do now. And he made a comment that it's not that big a deal to him. He wants to win, but that's not the first thing on his mind. But we know how competitors are.
Sure.
You don't want that hovering over your head, because how do we judge quarterbacks or pitchers or the Reggie Jacksons of the world? What'd you do in October and November? So Verlander knows. And, Stan, the point is, and I think a lot of us, whether it's the people who pitch that I've talked to or me who's an avid baseball fan or any of us that watch, say, okay, what's missing? Is it a little bit of, misluck where you throw to Soto in a World Series and a good player beats you? Because sometimes you're going to take the L. Somebody else is just as good as you. But I don't think he's had his major stuff. And when you make a few mistakes in the playoffs and you get hurt by it, what happens?
Gets
magnified.
People make
a quicker decision to go to somebody else. So I don't think it's for guts. I don't think that he shrinks on a big stage because he's been good in playoffs. I just think the fact that whatever it is, he's mishit on it. And for validation in truth, while he's a Hall of Famer, I think we're all waiting for him to go pitch a gem in a World Series where we say, oh, okay, that clutch DNA in the postseason in the World Series, he's got that too. And we are waiting for it. I think he is too.
He is Sean Salisbury. He's with us here on GCR. Sean, one more for you about the World Series. Trey Mancini is one of the most beloved figures in Baltimore, and we couldn't be rooting more for the guy as a human being. I know it's been a difficult postseason for him. What's been the fit? How has it worked with Trey Mancini in Houston? Do you think that he's somebody they'd like to bring back in the offseason? What has that looked like for our guy Trey?
He was welcomed here with open arms. I love him too. Anybody that overcomes what he's overcome to just be playing, alive and then playing, love him. And I think people know what he meant to Baltimore and that he's a good player. They're counting on him now, whether he's the full-time DH, whether he has a spot in left field at times, whether he shares it with Aledmus Diaz. They're counting on him. He feels like the guy. Now, it's not going to be every day he's in the lineup, but he feels like the guy that in Houston, somebody misses, he hits one into the Crawford boxes in left field and changes the game. The people here love him. Now, his performance hasn't been what he's wanted, but I don't think it's not one of those where we're like, oh, you can't keep him on the roster, you can't play him. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a respectful admiration for him, and I know he doesn't want anybody to feel sorry for him. It's not like people are saying, oh, put him in just because he's Trey Mancini. They expect him to come through and hit, and that's why they brought him here. And he's had his moments, and he feels like the type of guy to me who will cherish the moment so big. Don't be shocked if he comes through with a couple clutch hits in the DH role. We love him here. I am a diehard fan of him and his story and what he's all about. Houston loves him. Now, as far as the future goes, who knows?
Right.
Because we still don't even know who the GM's going to be, if James Click is coming back with a new contract or not. So I'm a big Mancini fan, and I think this city has absorbed what he means to baseball and what he's done and what he's overcome.
He is one of the truly great people that we have ever gotten to know. He is remarkable.
Love him.
Sean,
it.
I know you got to get up early in the morning. Were you able to stay up and watch the entirety of the second half last night?
I watched for the most part all of it. I actually missed the second quarter. I had it on tape, so I missed that quarter. But what I didn't do is miss the end. And it's time now, a couple weeks in a row, that we've seen Baltimore close out games, which has been a problem for them, obviously, early. So early or not, there's certain games I won't miss. And that's normally too good a quarterback matchup to miss out on.
What did you make of the strategy last night where they came out throwing the ball in the first half? Lamar threw the ball 30 times in the first half.
Yeah,
it looked like a mess. In the second half, to me, they looked like a Greg Roman offense. And what it is that, wherever you complain, for people around here complain about Greg Roman, that's what Greg Roman offenses can do. Does it seem like that should be their answer moving forward? Hey, this is who you're supposed to be, and if you can do it, you got a chance to be really good.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, to me, great coordinators, Glenn, while you have your plan going, and we know what the MO and identity of Baltimore wants to be, right? Just what you said, second half of what Greg Roman was doing. And I think that's the identity they want to be. But you also, good coordinators, and telling this to your fans that listen or watch, also have no problem adjusting to what you see what may be a perceived weakness with the injuries in the secondary. So I get it a little bit. I know what they want to do. You always want to do what you do staple-wise. But in that game, we're talking about a fourth and fifth corner. You've got injuries on defense. You've got a different game plan. And a lot of times you want to pound them the Ravens way, run it, mix in the throw, mix in the RPO, get Lamar on the edge. But every now and again, it's okay to flip it. Say we're going to come out, spread them out, stretch it a little bit, and then come back and do what we do in the second half. So I understood the game plan, considering I don't think in the NFL when we see a weakness or an injury that we attack it enough. I've never understood why when you see a guy off coverage, guys playing 10 yards off, and it's your fourth corner, and you throw and get a completion, and then you don't see it again. I'm not just talking about Baltimore, I'm talking about anybody, why we don't go back to success on a regular basis. So I understood the game plan. Second half is more what they do, but I do get why they went after Tampa that way, because Tampa's got a good defense, but the weakness going into that game last night, at least perceived, was the depth in their secondary, and it ended up working to them for perfection, and their defense came up with a few stops. But every now and then you got to do it, and I'll tell you what else it shows. When I look at the glass half full, it shows that they don't have a problem putting the ball in Lamar's hand and throwing it 30, 35 times a game. And if I'm them, I would have already paid him. You cannot let that guy walk or you're in trouble.
Last night, watching the game on Amazon, after the game, Ryan Fitzpatrick, didn't mince words, said that the Buccaneers right now are pretty much a broken team, or at least the offense.
By the way,
is
it's
broken.
official this morning. Giselle is filed for divorce. So,
okay,
add that to the file.
Yeah, my question was, what do you think of Tom Brady's decision to come back and play at this point in time? Hindsight being what it is, Sean.
I didn't think he was going to retire. When he did, the guys I've been retire left no doubt, because you guys know this watching athletes. And I can tell you this, the toughest thing to do is when you've been doing something so great for so long, and it's what you've known your whole life. And he threw for 5,400 yards and 40-plus touchdowns last year. He was playing it at an MVP level. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, if Todd Bowles and that secondary play better coverage and don't put Cooper Kupp on a safety, they win that game. And I guarantee you they're beating the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, and they're back in a Super Bowl. So for me, I had no problem with him coming back now. And the fact that when he didn't fully retire and give us the no-brainer, I'm done, I'm walking away, when he left the door open, that tells me mentally he wasn't ready to walk. Whatever reason why, whatever decision he made, listen, I feel horrible. I don't wish divorce or this on anybody. Anybody that roots for that's just an ass clown, right?
Right.
Who knows? But Tom's been able to compartmentalize distractions and controversies his whole life. And then when he hits the field, be at his best. This is different. It's tough. It's family. He's 45 years old. He's got teammates that they've been injured. And maybe we've gotten to the point where Tom can't carry a team by himself on his back anymore offensively. And that's what it looks like. They look slow. They drop balls. So I had no problem with him coming back. And far be it for me, even knowing how tough it is to walk away from something you love. And when you're great at it, because once you walk away 3 years out, you ain't going back. And if you do, you ain't going to be very good at it.
There's no doubt about it. Sean, I don't know if we lost you. Yeah. Sean, you there? Oh, no.
The division, because that's a putrid division.
Okay, Sean, hey, real quick before I let you go, if I could, Brandon Cooks, the Ravens might very well still be in the market for a receiver at the trade deadline. Is there a possibility? Would Brandon Cooks make sense? Could he be in play? What would something like that cost?
In play, yes. I talked to an insider today that they said it's kind of been squelched, but to me, they're looking for assets. They have not got him overly involved this year. I love him. If the Baltimore Ravens were wise and wanted to take their game to another level, he's the perfect guy to come in and be a pro and elevate. If you gave him a third rounder, I don't know how they could turn it down. I don't, because he's been consistent. But we'll see if they're up to it. But I would make that phone call if I was Baltimore, if I was Tennessee, if I was Tampa Bay. There's a few teams that should make that call. Baltimore being at the top of the list to give Lamar another weapon.
At Sean Unfiltered on Twitter is how you follow him, brother. I truly love you. Always appreciate taking the time, man. You are the best.
Nice to meet you, Sean.
Anytime. Love you too, brother. Hey, Stan, nice to meet you. I look forward to talking to you guys again.
All right.
Sean Unfiltered on Twitter at Sean Salisbury joining us here on GCR from down in Houston. One of the best. We'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get Tubular to wind down. And then Jalen Smith. We will spend some time with the Baltimore native and former Terp as he's back in the area as the Pacers take on the Wizards tonight. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smolka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests, and of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 1st at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill, 5506 Hartford Road. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
Winding down for a Friday edition of the show and for the week. Paul has a question for you, Stan. He wants to know, do you think Trey Turner would be out of the Orioles' price and shopping range this offseason?
In a word, yes.
I agree, unfortunately. I'd love for that to be the case, but I do tend to agree that is
And they also have a guy that they're hoping will be sort of like the next level of Trey Turner.
It still feels
Jackson
like everybody's trying to push Carlos Correa and the connection. And
now I'm talking about Jackson.
Oh, I know. I
Holliday.
understand. I'm saying I still feel like there is, even on the national level, there are more and more pundits that won't shake the but Mike Elias loves Carlos Correa thing, and if there's the opportunity to spend that money, he'll do it. And in a way, like if there is some bizarro world where they're willing to spend boku amounts of money on a player, I would probably think it would be more likely for it to be Correa than for it to be Turner because of that. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. All right, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Best place to watch and bet on sports is the FanDuel Sportsbook. Same game parlay plus betting now available. You can put both teams in a game in a same game parlay and up to 25 items on your same game parlay ticket. Go right now to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Events at sportssocialmd.com is the website if you want to reserve your spot. With the Ravens not playing on Sunday, great time for you to just go camp out in the FanDuel Sportsbook from kickoff, which, by the way, is at 9:30 a.m. or is it 9:30 or 9 a.m.?
Yeah, 9:30.
9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning over in London through Sunday Night Football. Just
14 straight hours of football.
Hang out, watch, bet, win money. It sounds like a glorious day. Reserve your spot. Events at sportssocialmd.com. What you got?
All right, so yesterday, Silver Slugger finalists were announced, and two
Oh,
Orioles.
Of course, yesterday also, Brandon Hyde was named the Sporting News Manager of the Year. We talked about that briefly. It'd say, be clear, that's not the official Manager of the Year award, but it is no question a significant honor.
Yep. Alongside Buck Showalter of the National League.
That's right,
which
is really cool.
Which is really cool, yeah. So Adley Rushman and
so the last two Orioles managers
were both named
Manager
of the Year. Correct.
Adley and Anthony Santander were the two Orioles named to be Silver Slugger finalists. So with them being finalists, they now have a chance to join 12 other Orioles who won a Silver Slugger award. Stan, Glenn?
I don't know when the Silver Slugger started.
Started in 1980.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray, yes.
Cal Ripken.
Correct.
Those are two pretty good guesses.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Brady Anderson.
Brady Anderson never won it. No.
How in the world did Brady Anderson hit 50 home runs and not win?
Albert Bell?
Albert Bell, not on here.
Not as an Oriole, maybe.
1980. How about Ken Singleton?
Not Ken Singleton. You named the two guys from the 80s.
Chris Davis.
So, yes, Chris Davis won it in 2013.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Palmeiro won it in 1998.
Manny Machado.
Manny Machado never won it.
Okay.
For the Orioles.
Miguel Tejada.
Yes, Miguel Tejada in 04 and 05.
Chris Hoyles?
Not Hoyles.
How about Matt Wieters?
Not Matt Wieters.
Okay.
Matt Wieters did not.
Two bad catching
Yeah,
guesses.
right. What about
there is a catcher on
what about
Cedric Mullins?
30-30.
How about Cedric Mullins?
Not Cedric Mullins.
Cedric
Mullins
Mullins
didn't win
it
it.
last
I know.
Who did they have when they had Bobby Bonilla?
Not Bobby Bonilla.
He wouldn't have won it.
How many? We're still missing 6?
We're still missing 6
We only have 5 guys so far? And there's still 6 more on the
And
list?
it didn't start until 1980.
There should be 1, 2. Yeah, it didn't start until 1980. And you named every guy left here is mid-90s and
Mid-90s.
Roberto Alomar.
Yep, Roberto Alomar, 96.
Eric Davis?
Yep, 5 left. 6 left, actually. Oh, there is one more guy from the 80s. I'm sorry, I missed one more guy from not Eric Davis. Not Eric Davis. There's a catcher.
Rick Dempsey?
No.
Who else was it?
Late 80s, very late 80s.
Mickey Tettleton.
Mm-hmm. Mickey Tettleton in 89.
That's a good one.
All right. Everybody else from the 90s, you said?
Everyone else is from the 2000s and on, actually.
And the 2000s and on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We know it wasn't Sammy
Javi
Sosa.
Lopez.
No, it wasn't. Not
Wasn't
Lopez
Sammy
or
Sosa
or
or
Sammy
Vladimir Guerrero.
or Jim Thome.
Adam Jones.
Yes, Adam Jones, one of 3
Brian Roberts.
to win it in 2013.
Nick Markakis?
Not Markakis.
And not Roberts?
Not Roberts, yeah.
Who the hell are we missing?
One guy I don't think you'll. Well, I mean, you get him.
Who
But
the hell are we missing?
so there's a guy from 04, 08, another guy from 13, and 2016.
2016 Jonathan Scope.
Not Scope. I believe it was his first year with the Orioles in 2016, or second year.
Mark Trumbo.
Mark Trumbo.
Mark Trumbo won a Silver Slugger award.
Yep. He was the most recent Oriole to do it.
J.J. Hardy.
J.J. Hardy in 2013.
That's a good guess.
Nelson Cruz.
2 left. Not
Nelson
Nelson Cruz.
Cruz.
Not Nelson Cruz.
All right, what years are we talking about?
We were talking 2008 and 2004. One of them won it as a DH.
Melvin Mora.
Yep, Melvin Mora in 04 as third baseman. 2008 designated hitter.
2008 designated hitter.
One of the few Orioles to hit a cycle.
Aubrey Huff.
Huff was a Silver Slugger.
God,
Yeah.
it's so gross. Oh, it's so gross. Man, I would have liked to have blocked that out forever if
Not
possible.
quite as bad as Yee, but
Yeah. These is of that ilk. Of that ilk. Ugh. All right, Tubular brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. I don't have it. I don't have a single positive word to say. GinsuGrills.com is the website.
Not about Ginsu Grills.
Lots of positive words to say about Ginsu Grills. They're amazing. Perfect ceramic.
the exact opposite of
Exactly
Aubrey Huff
right.
of grills.
What the? Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. A perfect ceramic home grill or tailgate for grilling, smoking, baking, searing, all kinds of food. And again, use the code tailgate at GinsuGrills.com. You'll save $100 on your order. Game 1 tonight of the World Series. All of the World Series games are on linear Fox. Phillies, Astros, 8 o'clock tonight. Aaron Nola. They're probably not going to let Austin pitch for the Phillies in the World Series. Aaron Nola against Justin Verlander.
But they may let him
tonight.
catch. There's a rumor
I
going
don't
around.
think that they're going to pull that
Petition.
off. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to pull that off. Game 2 is tomorrow night at Zach Wheeler. Who's pitching for Houston tomorrow night? They actually
I'm guessing it's Framber Valdez.
I don't know why they haven't made that official yet.
Yeah,
but
it's got to be Framber
I assume
Valdez.
that's the case. Obviously, college football. Maryland is off this weekend. Navy will host Temple tomorrow at 3:30 on CBS Sports Network. Towson's at Monmouth. Morgan hosts South Carolina State. The football games will get locally on Sunday. CBS Steelers Eagles at 1 o'clock. Fox Bears Cowboys at 1 o'clock. Big one Sunday afternoon. One game available locally on Sunday afternoon. You're not going to want to leave your couch. Commanders Colts. That's your football
Taylor
viewing
Heineke,
option.
Sam Ellinger. I mean,
God, that if you are local,
Fireworks.
you don't have Red Zone or you don't have the ticket. That's what you get. 4:25 on Fox. Commanders Colts. Sunday night game, of course, Packers Bills 8:15 on NBC, and then Sunday morning on ESPN Plus. Broncos Jaguars at 9:30 a.m. Everything else, including the stupid Jake Paul Anderson Silva thing, find at glennclarkradio.com.
Do you know anything about this quarterback playing for the Colts?
Sam Ellinger, I know he went to Texas.
Yeah,
That's the list of things.
he's more mobile than Matt Ryan. That's for sure.
He never won a Silver Slugger award.
No, to my knowledge, never won a Silver Slugger award. But we're learning all sorts of crazy things.
He
this
won a
morning.
bowl game, I think.
Uh,
Because he said we're back.
But he didn't beat Maryland.
No, he did not beat
that
Maryland.
did not happen.
Chuba Hubbard just got ruled out for Sunday.
Oh, damn it!
I know.
We're getting denied the opportunity to watch the greatest running back of all time.
Big Chuba Hubbard.
Fair. Yeah, we've done it. We've gone really in on Chuba.
Non-sports. So on ABC, there's a Matthew Perry interview. Apparently,
He
today.
hates Keanu Reeves.
He
What is
does?
that?
Really?
Have you not seen that this week?
No.
He's angry that all of the people
Maybe
that
he's confused and thinks Keanu Reeves is Kanye.
he's Kanye West. I swear to, it's the weirdest. There's like all these excerpts from his book coming out. They're like,
Yeah.
why is River Phoenix dead and Chris Farley dead and Keanu Reeves gets to live? Like, dude, what the?
Well,
Keanu Reeves seems like a decent guy.
He's like opening up about his addiction.
Yeah,
and
but
like,
what a weird bit.
yeah, I know
man.
it's odd. So he's got a whole
All right, whatever.
special on ABC or something.
Matthew Perry thinks of Chuba
Chuba Hubbard, exactly right. Maybe they'll get to the bottom of that on ABC.
We all know there's a new episode of The Peripheral because Amazon was pushing it down our throats last night. Season 6 of Big Mouth comes out on Netflix.
I do like that.
Yes. Drink Masters, which is a new, it actually seems kind of cool on Netflix as well. 12 of the world's most innovative mixologists will compete to make exciting drinks.
Not the Glenn Clark will not be participating.
My favorite
Thanks,
comment.
but
My
no
favorite
thanks.
comment on this was that somebody was like, "I can't wait for Drink Masters Jr."
Oh God. Oh God.
And then there's a a new World War I movie called All Quiet on the Western Front. Well, I guess it's not a remake, but there's a new All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix, which looks
What do you
pretty
mean it's
well
not
done.
a remake? Is it a different film that they just gave the same name?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
All right. I don't even want to. We don't have the time.
I mean,
I'm
it
sorry.
looks kind of good. Like,
if you say so.
Like I enjoy war
Okay.
movies. Walking Dead, White Lotus season 2 premiere on HBO on Sunday.
All right, very good, very good. Next week is Black Panther, correct? Not
Yes.
this week.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to start making some plans. Take Mrs. Clark out.
You see
All
it in
right.
Madison.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be in Madison next weekend. Stan the Fan at Stan the Fan on Twitter.
At Stan the Fan on Twitter. Next week, aiming for Shane Turner for Monday night to talk a little bit of World Series, but also talk about Bruce Bochy because Shane is the vice president
back in
with the
the game.
Back in the game. And
game.
Excited to be back in the
with
game.
the Rangers.
Excellent choice by the Rangers.
I told you my Bruce Bochy story. He would not, when I was stringing in Arizona and I had to go do the post game and send for the Giants, I walked into because he did his scrum in his office. It wasn't a press conference.
He said, have a beer.
He said, if you're going to be in here, you're going to have a beer with me. I looked at him. I'm like,
okay.
Really? And he said, yeah, if you want to be in my office, you got to have a beer with me. And I said,
darn.
Okay, I guess. And so he went to the little fridge he had in the office. He handed me a beer, and I sat there and had a beer with Bruce Bochy. And I was 23 years old. It was neat. It was neat.
And next Wednesday night, it'll be on again on Wednesday. Sarah Ellison, formerly of Ravens.com.
The Vault, I believe, is her podcast.
Yep.
Very good. And you'll be on with the boys tomorrow morning on the Bat-Around, correct?
That is correct.
Talking World Series with Paul and Zach tomorrow morning. Those guys will be on 10
I'll
to
be
noon.
putting forth my Jesus Luzardo demand.
I'm not opposed to it. I want to make that abundantly clear. I ain't fighting you about it. I am not opposed to it whatsoever. Very good. Thank you, sir. Always good to see you. Appreciate you. We will see you next Friday. All right. Want to thank today Sean Salisbury, also Bo Smolka, and you're about to hear from Jalen Smith. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Don't forget, this Monday is our big college basketball preview show. Patrick Stevens will be here. We are kicking things off early, 9 a.m. on Monday. Pat Scarry will join us in studio. Tavares Hardy from Loyola will join us in studio. Kevin Brodus.
Is my mic still on?
Yes.
Any possibility that Pat Scarry's on because it's Halloween?
Oh, that did time out well, didn't it?
he's
I didn't
so
even think
scary,
about it. I didn't
you know.
even. All right.
It's time for me to go.
Yeah, and the other area coaches will be joining us as well during the course of Monday's show. So we'll be doing a very special college basketball preview show this Monday starting at 9 a.m. Hope that you will join us for that. Thanks to Micah, you're on Instagram at Micah.Ernest, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Of course, you can follow Griffin at Griffin_Bass. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. We might have to, Micah, Griffin was unwilling to put himself out there for drove old Dixie down. Right?
Should we do it for him?
I think that maybe we try to carve up last week's segment and we try to push to say, hey, look.
I have no problems tagging her.
He's a good young man, a national champion, someone who is willing to take you out to a nice night in Westminster if you're up for it. Like, I just feel like maybe we should step in a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the next step.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, where I'm going to be tomorrow morning attempting to do an agility test. I attempted to do as soon as I finished my crunches this morning. Again, the crunches, no problem. But I said, I need to do some push-ups. I haven't done push-ups in a long time. I got 10 in, and I said,
how many do you have to get?
I don't even remember, but it's more than 10, and I had a problem with more than 10 this morning. And I did it right after my crunches. So
that's
maybe
what it was.
Yeah, I think that's. Otherwise, I would be killing it, right? I'd be just.
Your chest was tired from the crunches.
Exactly right. I'll be there tomorrow morning. We'll have some video for you. Thanks also to Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, the Costas Inn, Guilford Hall Brewery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Have a great weekend. Go local teams, Navy, football, all the local football, soccer teams that are playing this weekend. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks, too. We wrap up today's show. Jalen Smith, before he's back in the area tonight, right here on GCR. Well, it's always a pleasure to catch up with our next guest, and he is having a hell of a start to his season with the Indiana Pacers. And tonight on national TV, He's back in the area as they take on the Washington Wizards. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the program the pride of Mount St. Joe and the University of Maryland. Sticks himself, Jalen Smith, is with us on GCR. Jalen, it's Glenn. So great to chat with you again, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, I appreciate you for having me.
And, man, when you're back in this area, obviously, you're right down the street from College Park. You're still not that far away from home. Like, do you get to enjoy yourself at all? Do you get to spend any time with anybody? Or, like, does work prevent you from being able to, like, get some joy from being back in Maryland, the area, for a couple of days?
Not really. I mean, I usually connect with everybody once I get back, but I mean, obviously with the NBA, you get back so late in the day, and then everybody has to work. So I mean, it's kind of hard to catch up with everybody, but I still send everybody a text and say hello here and there.
That's cool. I saw you got to spend some time with Bino the other night. He came to your game in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Dude, how cool was that, man? I know how much that man has meant to you in your life.
Oh yeah, it meant a lot. I mean, obviously Bino's in DePaul now. So he connected with me, and we decided to go out for a little night out, and then pretty much he came to the game, and it was an amazing experience because I mean obviously Bino has had a major impact on my basketball career, and just him being from Baltimore, me being from Baltimore is even more of a connection there. And pretty much I owe almost everything that I've accomplished so far to him.
Wow, man, that's powerful, dude. You know I love that guy. That's awesome to hear you say that. Jalen, clearly a hell of a start to the season, averaging roughly a double-double so far. I know when you arrived in Indiana last year, things really started to kick into gear, and I think we saw that. You and I have talked before. I happen to be a big Suns fan, so this is a little bittersweet for me. But even when DeAndre was out last year, we saw you really thrive, moving into a more prominent role. How good have you felt? Not just being in a place where clearly they wanted you, they made the move to get you, they rewarded you, but that they believe in you as much as clearly they do in Indiana.
Oh, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, it's always an amazing thing to be at a place that you wanted. Not saying that Phoenix didn't want me, Phoenix, it was a great organization. I was close with everybody there. Everybody loved me. I loved everybody. It was just a tough rotation to crack for as a young kid coming into the league, But, I mean, at the end of the day, Indiana just gave me the opportunity to flourish, and I feel as though that was the perfect situation for me, and just being able to go out there and showcase myself.
Did you have to go through any, like, self-doubt or any, frustration, whatever it might be? Were you the type that was capable when it wasn't clicking early on in Phoenix, and you weren't not clicking is the wrong way of saying it, when you weren't getting that opportunity, were you able to comfortably say, hey, I know as soon as I get my chance, I'm going to be fine, or did you go through any sort of feelings of discomfort or doubt or anything like that?
I mean, no. I mean, obviously there's frustration there. Obviously you just want to go out there and just play, especially as a rookie coming into the NBA. You want to prove yourself right out the break, but at the end of the day, everything doesn't work out that way, and that was one thing that they preached to me there was be ready at any point in time because your number can be called, and that being a professional, you have to be ready to perform. And, I mean, it was never no self-doubt because I knew what type of player I am. I knew what I'm capable of, and I wouldn't have been in the NBA if I wasn't capable of doing what I knew I could do. So, I mean, it was just a matter of just waiting my time and being patient and just staying ready.
Working out okay for you. Jalen Smith with us tonight, Pacers Wizards down in D.C. Jalen, obviously you're now in this place. You're showing people what you can do. Have you felt like your game has even improved, or this is just who you are, right? Like, has there been in a way where you felt like maybe you're even better than what we had seen from you collegiately now that you've gotten a couple years into your pro career?
I mean, yeah, I truly do believe that I'm a lot better than what I was. I mean, that comes with being in the NBA. The NBA and college are two different games, and you got to adjust your game. And I feel as though that having all that time of not playing and being able to work on my skills and hone in on that allowed me to improve my game a lot more so that I was ready for whenever my time was coming.
I think everybody remembers the legendary game that you guys played against Indiana a couple years ago. Being with the Pacers now, were there any Indiana fans that you've run into that maybe still harbored some sort of grudge or something like that, or have you had a moment where somebody's like, dude, we love you now, but kind of didn't love you when you were in college? Have you gone through any of that?
No. I mean, people will remind you of the situation. and they'll say they was at the game, but they'll never like go further than that. But I mean, pretty sure everybody remembers it, but nobody really speaks upon it.
I get it. It was an intense day, man. We saw a heck of an intense side of you that day. Is that part of your game? We mentioned it's a double-double, and obviously this is a higher level. The way that you've shown that fight, is that part of your game that's grown? The toughness, the tenacity that we always knew what a hell of a shooter you were going back to high school, right? But the other side of it, is that something that you feel like has even grown as you've gotten to the pros?
I mean, yeah, obviously, as being a shy kid, don't really express much emotion, but it's just something about the competitiveness of the sport of basketball that just brings it out. I mean, obviously that was one of my main focuses as I grew throughout my basketball career, was showing more emotion and showing more toughness on the court. And I feel as though that's just something that continues to improve to this day.
I think it's paying off big time. It's paying off big time. Jalen, who's had the biggest impact on you since you've been in the pros? Who are the guys that maybe you've leaned on, that you've learned from, that maybe you've worked out with? Who are the guys that have had the most impact on you?
I'd probably say, like, when I was in Phoenix, it was Chris and Jay and Book.
It's a pretty good group, by the way.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much everybody at Phoenix, I mean, everybody there had different paths. Obviously Chris being a Hall of Famer, Book being a potential Hall of Famer, DA being an up-and-coming big in the league, and Jay just being an all-around winner in the league. I mean, I pretty much had the best of both worlds at Phoenix, and they all just pretty much continued to preach to me, like, you just got to continue to stay ready and continue to be a professional and continue to work, because, like you said, you never know what can happen. You never know when your time can come. And that they didn't see so many people fall off because they didn't want to work and things like that. And those stories helped me build my character around that, to prove that, like, yeah, I understand things are not going my way right now, but I'm not going to let it affect me.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, they pretty much were the main, I guess you could say, inspirations to helping me prove and show that I'm an NBA player.
That's really cool, man. The roster that you're with now in Indianapolis, dude, one of my favorite players in the world is Buddy Hield, right? Like, he's just the most entertaining dude to watch. What's it like being teammates with a guy like that?
Buddy's a character, I mean, being around Buddy, he is never a dull moment around Buddy. But at the end of the day, he's an extremely hard worker. He's always one of the first guys in the gym and always one of the last. And just seeing the success that he has had in the NBA, it rubs off on everybody on the team.
That's awesome, man. I love dude. You can't help it with that guy, right? Like, he's just such a freaking joy to watch that dude play, man. I don't know how to describe it. Settling in Indianapolis, right? Like, you're there, they've committed to you. Has it started to feel like home? Obviously, you spent so much time in your life in this area. Has it started to feel like home to you yet?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's only like an hour and 30 away from, flight time away from actual home. So, I mean, it's pretty much getting settled in. Everybody's showing me tremendous love around the city, and hopefully I can make this my home for my rest of my career, but we'll see when that time comes. But at the end of the day, right now, it feels amazing, just all the love that everybody's showing me, and, just the respect that they're showing my family and all that. So it's truly amazing.
Obviously, you had a hell of a coach, when you were in Phoenix, but Rick Carlisle, man, we're talking about a champion, right? Like, we're talking about a guy that's done everything. What have you taken so far from being around him? What did you know about him before you showed up, and what's that experience been like?
I mean, pretty much, obviously, with Coach Carlisle, the success he's had in the league and the success he's had helping players get into the league, like, obviously, me being a power forward, he literally coached,
right?
Arguably one of the best power forwards of all time. Then obviously.
But hang on, is it even fair? Wait a minute, is it even fair to call Dirk a power forward though? Right? Like, he's just a freak.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just a basketball player. But on paper, he was considered one of the power forwards. So I mean, just knowing that. The success he didn't have with bigs in this league, I mean, obviously that rubs off on me, and I try to pick his brain here and there. And then obviously him just telling me what it takes to be a star in this league and what it takes to be successful in this league, I truly take an ear to that, because obviously he's literally a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, not many coaches had the success that he's had as a player and as a coach. So I mean, you gotta take everything he says to hear.
Just another minute or two here with Jalen Smith as he's getting ready for a big game tonight. Jalen, we know how close you were with the staff at Maryland, of course, Mark Turgeon. Have you had an opportunity yet? I know Kevin Willard was trying to go out of his way to reach out to alums and to get guys back and visit in this offseason. Have you had an opportunity to spend any time with him yet and get to know him?
Yeah, I got some time. I mean, they had like a bowling event while I was in the off season, and we all was there, and I got to talk to him a lot, and I got to just pick his brain. So I mean, yeah, we connected a lot. So I mean, I guess he's just all you can really say is I haven't really got to know him yet, but
sure.
we've connected a lot of times.
Can you appreciate the effort that he's put into trying to connect with everybody and to keep everybody involved with Maryland basketball?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely that. I mean, obviously, he's connecting with all the guys that Coach Turgeon has coached. I mean, obviously with Coach Turgeon being out, it's a tough thing. So usually when the coaches leave, players kind of get further away from the program. But he's trying to continue to keep that link, and that's something I can appreciate, showing that he truly cares about what Coach Turgeon did and what he helped raise at Maryland.
Guys like you and Kevin, look, I mean, Wiggins is having a hell of a run in Oklahoma City right now, but you guys are kind of carrying the banner for Maryland players. Do you still feel that same connection and that, like, you can be, spreading the gospel of the University of Maryland for kids moving forward?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, me coming from a different coaching situation, I can speak upon that and the Maryland experience. I can't really speak much upon Kevin Willard because I haven't played for him. So, but at the end of the day, I can still speak on that Maryland experience about how that culture is there and how it continues to be the same culture throughout every coach that's there, and just continuing to show that atmosphere and show the bright side of Maryland.
Jalen, man, it's so exciting to see you take off the way that you have in your new NBA home, man. You know how many people back this way are absolutely rooting like hell for you. Let me remind everybody, social media, where can everybody be giving you a follow?
You can give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at @Jalen_Smith.
Dude, we are so happy for you. You've always been incredibly good to us over the years, and the way that you care about your hometown, it means a lot, man. Continued significant success moving forward. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for having me.